What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Smite Update show. I am Titan Dandy, and I am super excited to be here to show you all of what you can expect in Update 11.6. That's right, it's mid-season time. Feels like just yesterday we were kicking off this year, so it's crazy that we're already at the 6th update of our year 11. But obviously I couldn't do this alone. There's way more than I can comprehend in this brain, so I'm joined by some very talented people you may recognize. I have Ro and Lermy here, and J-Mac as well in the back driving for us.
What's up?
What's up? Y'all excited?
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
It's a long one today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know y'all been cooking, so I guess we won't waste any time. We'll dive right in. So we're going to kick off the show looking at some fun new cosmetics you can look forward to. Some you may have seen previewed, whether on that weight screen we were just on or maybe across Twitter a little bit more recently. So let's start with the Immortal Honor event. I'm going to say it again for those of you who don't know, after 6 updates, Immortal Honor event. You're going to get 2 skins every single update. We've been doing it. We're on our 12th set of skins. That's 2 times 6. I can do math. So they're all cross-gen. They're all going to be available in Smite 2 once these gods release in Smite 2 and are ready to play. So check out the event. Buy it individually, buy it in chapters, buy the whole thing all at once and just get all the skins throughout the entire year, every single update. Your choice. But let's look at what we have to offer in the mid-season update, starting with Lil Bites Sobek. Just a little guy.
I love this theme so much.
Right? It's
I
so
love
good.
him so much.
And look at him. He's just a little guy. Look at how happy he is.
Dude, I have been on a plushie purchasing spree, and let me tell you, I would buy that guy instantly if he existed as a plushie.
He would be part of the PPS. Got it. I'm loving. Is that Smite?
Smite Jenga blocks? Yeah, I was just looking at that too. No,
That's
that's
so
really
cute.
nice.
When am I getting my
here.
Smite branded Jenga? Dude, I want that. Like I'll be the hit of all of the lawn parties. So a beautiful little Sobek.
Oh my goodness.
He's been better in game,
He's
actually.
adorable.
Yeah.
He looks so much softer.
His little thing has googly eyes on his little weapon. Look at it. Oh my god, that's so silly.
It looks the way I feel, honestly. Here we go again.
He just like me for real, for real.
Oh, I'm just me. God. All right, well, he is adorable, soft, and cute. But let's see what he looks like in Smite 2. Oh, look at our soft little man. He looks so fluffy.
They really went in on the like kind of woven texture too. You can see all of the different like textiles that would go into making a plushie like this.
Yeah, and every stitch as well across all the seams.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks kind of felt too. Like you can kind of tell by looking how he would feel, you know.
I'd say he's very contrasted compared to a lot of the other plushie skins, which has like more of that like knit style or crochet style of look, where this one just feels like he's been sewn together. But I really like the look of it. He's
The
just so
details
happy.
are incredible.
He looks a lot less angry and wanting to kill me than most of the alligators.
But he still wants to flip you.
So that's true. He will still do that. So that is one of the 2 skins. The next one, slightly less cute, depending on what kind of person you are. We have Dreadstalker Kepri.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean? This is adorable.
Yeah.
Have you never seen a brain that cute before? Look at all those wrinkles.
No, mine is much smoother than that. I'm very concerned.
The way all the
Aerodynamic,
thoughts can slide right off.
Oh yeah. Mine's like a chicken breast. It's just completely. Anyway, yeah. So this skin a lot less huggable and adorable. The eye kinda though. At least he's paying attention. Like you know when you have his full attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when he grabs you, you will know you've got his full attention.
That's how it be when I go to the fridge to like water at 2 a.m.
Oh my god, he's so creepy.
Like when I see the cheese in the fridge as I'm reaching for a water bottle, like that's my eye every time.
You know, I saw the card art and I was like, oh, that's like, just a little creepy.
Just a little creepy.
It's a little bit more creepy than I thought. That eyeball is freaking me out, dude.
Right.
Ever since they started adding
charges at you.
moving eyeballs to Smite skins, like it's been peak horror, honestly.
I love it.
Every time there's an Eldritch Abomination with one constantly moving eye, I'm like, oh yeah, that's nightmare fuel.
I didn't think it could get creepier than Kepri as a gun, but this is creepier.
Maybe we could combine these skins.
All right, well, now that I'm vividly shook, how about we check it out in game?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, of course. So,
Just as creepy.
Oh, look
look
at
at
He's
him.
constantly moving around.
oh yeah, you got a lot to see. It's a whole new world out there for him.
Is it safe to have the brain exposed like that? I feel like it's
No, I don't recommend
Revive
having your
himself.
brain exposed to natural lighting and atmosphere.
But he's just powerful enough where it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I see.
His thoughts can beat any germs, honestly.
Oh, dude,
And
I
any
love the
Odin
little
as well.
tech effects as well.
True.
Little horror, little sci-fi. Oh, that's really cool.
Watching the brain wrinkle is bothering me.
Kind of got a smaller body as well, so he's very nimble, this brain.
I've never seen a more nimble brain in my life.
Oh, it's
Oh.
a brain on there
Oh,
too.
look at the 2
That's
different-
awesome.
Cerebral revive.
If you revive through that Khepri, do you like gain IQ points? Is that what happens?
No, he actually takes them away.
Oh.
5th or 6th time he revives you, like the price is too
Smarter
much.
every time.
Yeah, that's how the brain got that big.
I see.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this has been comfortable and fun. I've loved this. I don't feel unsettled at all. Welcome to Smite 11.6 update. So cool. Yeah, you can look forward to seeing this from the Immortal Honor event in this and in Smite 2, of which we have a render, which I am also afraid to see. So let's check out
Yeah.
that horrifying Smite. Okay, the
Oh.
brain's hidden a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, the eyeballs
You're
like
being saved right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a word for it other than like glossy.
Glossy.
Yeah.
It's wet.
It looks like an eyeball.
It's a wet eyeball. It's a wet
I
eye.
wonder if it blinks in Smite 2.
No.
Oh, don't say that.
With
Don't give them
what
ideas.
eyelids?
That's true, actually.
Yeah, that's why it's all like
Eyelid.
bloodshot.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
good
can't
point.
blink.
Maybe it just rolls around.
Oh,
Like it
oh,
doesn't
that might
like
be
a-
worse.
Like a pen, maybe like a ballpoint pen. Yeah.
Oh God.
Again, I
Hey guys,
appreciate.
what about the like mechanical stuff, right? We can talk about the stuff other than
I'm just gonna say, I appreciate that it's being a little, being a little risque. It's like there is a big gross brain back here, but you'll have to see it later. Good for him.
Very modest.
Good for me. Thank you. Very modest. All right, I want to die. Let's look at the next thing. So this is Immortal Honor event. You heard me talk about it already. You know what you're looking for. You want to run people down with that skin. That's all I'm gonna say. But just build full attack damage, full crit, Khepri, and run people down with that, and it'll be a good time.
That sounds fun.
All right. So next up, something completely different. We have the Demon High Chest, and we're coming in with Honor Roll Amaterasu.
I love this theme so much.
Agreed. Thinking of
So
my boy
cool.
AJ.
I just love the like aesthetic as well. I really think that Amaterasu is a really good pick for it as
Yeah.
well. She just kind of has this like leadership mentality, right? Where she's this like super stoic character, but she gets to have a
Yeah.
little bit of fun. You know, she's still in school. She's breaking out of class to go kill some demons, and what a fun time it is.
I mean, yeah, you're on the honor roll. You're on the honor roll. Wow, that was kind of hard to say.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Thank you. It only took 2 tries.
Oh no, I meant being on the honor roll.
I'm just gonna take it the way I took it because it's less awkward that way for me. But now if you're on the honor roll, then like you got a lot. You got to put out for your class. You know, so like popping out to kill the demons. Like look at them in the back. They're like, oh, that's our honor roll student. So, ooh, that is a good skin.
Yeah,
Cool.
dude, the shield as well.
Yeah.
Looking really, really neat with the slight like insignia and the gems. I love this style. So cool.
I agree, and you're right. Amaterasu just physical, like the way that she holds herself does kind of exert that like proud
Yeah,
honor
same with her
student thing.
animations. Yeah.
So yeah, like just the way that she carries herself definitely lends itself to the skin really well. So a very, very cool skin, one that I'm excited to see, and one that, like all the others, I am excited to see in Smite 2 as well, as this is a cross-gen skin.
Ooh, the metals and the like gems, like we were talking about before, they just look so much nicer. They got like a big upgrade going into Smite 2 here.
Yeah, and honestly, for those of you who are able to play Smite 2 in this most recent alpha, like being able to see some of the skins that are in that game as well and how they handle the light with the effects and everything, like it's crazy how good it can look in a still and how good it looks, or how much better it looks even when you're actually moving and using it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
So-
wait to see those effects as well. Those are gonna look awesome.
Oh yeah,
The
that's
glow of her one walking through the jungle, her passive effect walking through the jungle.
Oh,
is really
dude.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, now that we're all excited and saw a bunch of cool stuff, let's do that thing where I talk for a little bit. Welcome to the news section of the show, starting with, I guess, just a thank you. You know, as I just mentioned, Smite 2's Alpha Weekend 2 just finished. That was last weekend. It was a great time. I hope that plenty of y'all were able to get in and play. I know I definitely dove in as often as I could. I was kind of out for the first one, but the second one, I was in there. I was playing as many different gods and roles as I could, getting a feel for it, and I really did love the experience. And more than that, I loved the feedback. I loved how communicative everybody was after the fact. So I know I have been on Twitter. 1,000 other people have been on Twitter talking about it, between coworkers or content creators in the space. Just so much good communication about what y'all thought. And obviously, good communication doesn't just mean, yeah, y'all did a great job. There was also a lot of, hey, this was fun, but, or hey, this could be improved a little. And I just, on behalf of everybody here, I do want to say thank y'all, because that is huge. Like, if you filled out the survey, if you were replying to questions from devs or people in the studio, like, we are hoarding that info like dragons. We are sitting on our mountain of hoarded Smite 2 info and using that to prepare for the next alpha weekend, and then everything up the road beyond that, to continue trying to improve this experience. So, if you had some critical thoughts and you shared them, please know that you are heard. We're going to continue adding these things and continue refining the Smite 2 product, the Smite 2 dream, until it is everything we want it to be. So I'll stop rambling, but thank y'all. It was really fun, and looking forward to the next one. To move on from that, I have to read a little more specifically so I don't botch this one. We have some esports news we're going to talk about. First and foremost, shout out to the winner of the first ever Smite 2 tournament. That was really cool. So many teams showed up to do that. So many people hopped in. You can see the team names right there. So for NA, we had Team Cowabunga, which was Yarkor, Aurora, Paul, Panatom, and Solo or Troll. And then from EMEA, I always mess that up somehow, we had Sack the Set. Coming in with Duduin, I might say these wrong because I can't read. Ice Silenced, Gunter, Apriel, and Deathwalker. So really, really great games. I tried to drop my iPod. Yeah, we got some brackets we can show y'all too. It's really, really cool to see. I mean, again, look at how many people showed up for this. Like, we were like, hey, let's throw this thing together. Let's have fun with it. Let's, see how Smite 2 feels in this alpha stage, in this incredibly early stage, on a competitive cycle. And y'all really showed up to help us figure this out. Like, y'all came, put on some incredible games, gave us a ton of really awesome Smite to watch. So, yeah, just thank all of y'all. It was a really, really cool experience. We're looking forward to more things like this in the future. So, last but not least, I want to shout out, well, I guess there's two other things, so not last but not least. Second to last but not least, we have the Content Creator Cup, which is still going. For those of you keeping up, we're working towards it, though, and we're working towards the LAN qualifiers. Starting for EMEA, that should be this weekend, if I'm correct, and then next week we'll have the LAN qualifiers for NA. So keep an eye out, obviously, on the Smite Pro scene, and, enjoy watching these cups as we work towards these qualifiers. So exciting times approaching us. And speaking of exciting, if y'all missed the announcement, Smite in Vegas. So, yeah, we announced this recently. It's going to be the Founders Series live in Las Vegas, January 17th through 19th. You see it all here. Go to smiteesports.com/Vegas for more info. But we are super excited to kick this off and to go have some fun. So more information, obviously, in the future. Keep your eyes out as we roll information out throughout the rest of the year, moving towards January. It is a while away. But we're just really excited to have gotten that news out into the world. So we're over here cooking. We're trying to make things happen. Okay, I've talked a lot. It's time to let some people who know all the hot deets talk. And we're talking balance, specifically game mode balance. And we're working towards Conquest now, it seems. So
yeah,
we're in the Smite 1 realm, talking about a little Conquest change. And what's changing? What's happening in the Conquest game?
Yeah, so we've got a brand new upgrade to a fan favorite system from last year. And that system, my friends, is the Spirit Totems and the Shaman Camps.
Okay.
So what are we doing to them? Well, now, I guess let's talk about what they did before. So previously, when you kill these back camp replacements, they would put different totems into your various camps. You could select the totems, pick different enhancements for your buffs.
Correct.
Now, what you can do with them is, at a certain point, they would despawn. You'd finish going through your cycle and be done. Now, the cycle continues. It repeats, and they get stronger and stronger and stronger each time you kill them.
Yeah, up to 3 levels of these new totems, so they'll just be constantly having that Shaman camp respawn instead of going that back camp changing back to back harpies. So you'll still have a back harpy camp at the start of the game, and then after that it'll be constant Shaman camps from there, where you just keep, every time you kill one, you upgrade your buffs.
Exactly.
Got it. Incentivizing that you continue to get on top of that camp every time that it is up, basically. All right, well, that's really cool. So, it seems that there's also, I guess you want to get into the change of the totem effects as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about, before we even get into like the totems themselves, let's talk about a couple of fun little invade rules.
Okay.
So one of the biggest contention points, I guess, over the system in the past is that it's really fun to be able to pick your buffs, but it's not necessarily so intuitive when you invade somebody's camp.
They get theirs,
They still get like their reward from it, essentially. You just get the golden experience of their camp. But now it works a little bit differently, where you can actually steal their totem now. And in that case, if you were to take one of their totems, they would technically miss that totem in the rotation, and it would continue onward. Like, let's just say it goes red, blue, yellow. If you steal their blue, it's going to go to yellow immediately, and then you'd need to wait for the next red before it turns into blue again. So lots of different new tactics that you can do now that the invading is on the table for these camps. So it's going to be really nice to be able to see a little bit more macro play. We're hoping to encourage people to really want to play around these guys and defend them on their own side and possibly invade them on the opponent's side.
Junglers especially, you'll be able to invade the enemy camps and just deny them from getting certain buffs. Like if they have some gods that are particularly good with the blue buff totem and they want the extra for CDR. Every time that's up, you can see it coming up on the map. You can go and invade that, and you can contest it. As well, on the receiving side, if you're getting invaded, you can tell your team to group up on this because we want this next camp. So it's another contention point on the map for people to fight over. We just want to get people into the combat as much as possible and reward them for doing so.
Yeah, I like that too. Like you said, that was my first thought was, oh man, like if this team is really, really powerful with the red buff, like you're going to really be like, all right, red buff is coming up. First priority, prevent them from getting it.
That's right.
What a cool additional layer for strategy. So awesome. So I guess, like you said, these kind of power up as the match continues to cycle. So how does that power up work?
Yeah, I guess let's start with an example. Let's start with the Azure Totem.
Okay.
So this is the cooldown reduction totem. And as you can see here, each time you get it, the first time you get it, you're going to start with the 10%, go up to the 12.5, and then 15 after 3 cycles of the blue.
So, for example, if you got the 2 first blue bonds, you could take the 10%. They wouldn't get their 10% at all. And then you could get upgraded to 12.5 by taking theirs. So you're already at tier 2. They're still at tier 0, or they don't have one yet, which is really cool. So yeah, this is the same way for each of the totems. So the yellow one, the golden spirit totem, will be 5 penetration and 5% penetration. The percent penetration, as you can see in the lower third here, isn't scaling because that would be very, very strong.
That would be very strong, yeah.
But the flat penetration does. So 5 through 7 and then 10 for each tier respectively.
And it's important to keep a note as well. By the time you're getting to these tier 3s, it's going to be a little bit later in the game.
Oh yeah, for
so,
sure.
Unless you're stealing them all the time.
Yes, if you're stealing them very frequently, then it's going to be really nice because you can upgrade kind of to the tier 2 right away if you get the back-to-back ones, which is really, really fun to be able to kind of push that advantage because you're getting a very significant lead if you're going to be able to get those totems to their next rank way sooner than your opponent.
Yeah, what a crazy thing to think about too, how you can snowball that. So yeah, and it just seems like each of these, like you said, have those 3 levels. So if you're in your own jungle farming your own stuff, it's going to take a while because that's 12 camps.
Yeah, you got to go through a lot of them.
After the first one, it's it's a slow rolling ball. But if you're able to be aggressive, if you push that lead, you start taking their camp. That's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it encourages you to be on time for that buff to spawn as well. If you just leave it sitting up, not only are you risking somebody else coming to invade it and stealing it from you, but if it's just sitting up, it's not being killed, and that's delaying the subsequent spawns as well. So you want to be there as soon as possible, kill it as soon as possible, or invade as soon as possible, and just get them upgraded as soon as possible throughout the game. I said as soon as possible a lot there.
And each of these different levels have visual effects associated with them as well, where you'll be able to tell, if you look in your camp and you see all of the totems there, if they have a certain level of effects, you'll see if you have a level 2, it looks a little bit, more important, more shiny, more special, and then level 3, it's like the most special. But yeah, as you can see there from before, the violet one was attack speed, and then here we have the verdant one, which is max health and mana. And eventually, that gets to scaling up really, really nicely for the late game. So some of these will scale a little bit better than others. Some of these will be more important to focus on for your early game. But again, we are just really excited to see what kind of macro play comes out of this. And if people really enjoy the system, we'll keep an eye on it and make sure that it's feeling good.
Yeah, excited to see it, and excited to see the little verdant green mask there because I love ever since the masks came out, I love their design, and verdant's definitely is my favorite. So cool. So those all rolled across the bottom of the screen there. If you had missed one or have a question about any of them, make sure to check out the patch notes. Should be live right now, and they have all this info obviously, so you can follow along and see all the numbers we're talking about. But last but not least, one last little change for Conquest. Looks like back harpies just have a change with their debuff.
That's right. Yeah, same area of the map we're talking about is the back harpies that then get changed into the shaman camp. So you'll only see this camp once. We're taking away the attack speed debuff just because it's more of an annoyance. It's blocking some solo lane gods or some gods from being able to play in the solo lane because certain gods, like good example is like Osiris, right? Clears that back camp with no worries at all. Doesn't even normally get to 2 stacks of that attack speed debuff on itself. But say a guardian like, I don't know, Sobek, if you wanted to play Sobek solo, you're just sitting there hitting that forever, and there's attack speed buffs are stacking up on you. So the good clearing gods already didn't have to worry about this. The bad clearing gods were getting punished extra. So we're just removing that attack speed buff, so it should make it easier for those guardians or just lower clear gods to be able to play in that lane or just clear that camp.
Just to stay competitive with it.
That's right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, well, that's Conquest. Next up, we're talking about Duel. Now, for those of you who have followed the show, you know that Duel has varied its bans quite a lot this year so far. A lot of back and forth and this and that. But we're doing it a little differently this time. What's going on with the bans here, Lermy?
Yes. So finally, after what feels like a several month-long experiment, we had a really good time with our ban system. But coming up in this patch, we are removing the ban system and going to everybody is back
Unleashed.
in
It's a
Duel.
free-for-all.
Unleashed, if you will. But essentially, we were really happy to see, the experimentation coming out from, incorporating a ban list into this mode. But I think overall, we haven't seen any data kind of showing that it has impacted the mode positively or negatively. It's kind of just stayed the same. So in general, our methodology here is that we want to encourage players to feel a little bit more free to try things and do things, especially as, we continue to do these exciting changes. Some of the gods that are getting changed in patches just aren't allowed in Duel.
Yeah.
So they don't get to have the fun time with their brand new changes, and that has been really sad. Also, it's going to be very interesting to see with some more upcoming stuff that we're going to be talking about soon, if, the meta changes a lot. So ideally want to give the Duel players as much freedom as possible, especially with the upcoming changing systems that we'll talk about very soon.
That's right. Yeah, it's a mid-season update, so we have a lot of changes. That means a lot of gods get changed. We just want to allow players to be able to play their gods. If there is a high demand for the ban system to come back in some shape or form, we can certainly do that.
Exactly.
But for now, you're unleashed.
You are unleashed. So for those of you who's been affected by the ban list and your favorite's been locked behind that wall, go nuts. So we're moving away from game modes now into the world of items. And let me tell you, there are a lot of items. If I had to choose a spot, they were chefing. It was items this time around. So one of my favorite things, obviously, is I look at all of the notes and I format the patch notes, so I get to see a lot of this beforehand. And we're going to talk about a lot of items here, but under the word item balance, there is just one item. And I thought that was really funny. It's not item balance plural; it's item singular balance. So before we move into the funky stuff, the crazy stuff, how about we talk about item singular balance with Eye of the Jungle?
Yeah, the Eye of the Jungle is the one item that we're going to be balancing in the entirety of the mid-season patch, guys.
There you
This
go.
is it. This is the only
We're
one.
actually done after this.
So essentially, we'll get into why this is the only one in just a couple of seconds
Yeah,
here, but let's
there's a
talk
lot
about
more
Eye of the Jungle first. So ever since we did a little switch up to remove attack speed from Eye of the Jungle, put it on mannequins, Eye has fallen pretty clearly behind in terms of its popularity. It doesn't really have a super unique home at this point. It doesn't do sustain better than Bumbas. It doesn't do damage or protections better really in any way. So what we wanted to do here is give it a very new, unique effect that still plays around this in the jungle mechanic. So now while you're in the jungle, you will be able to rotate a little bit faster between your camps, between your ganks, whatever you want to do. Now you get 3% movement speed.
That's right. Yeah, we hope this is a fun one, just something different in the jungle. Get some movement. That's one level worth of movement speed in the early game. So if you're level 3 and the enemy jungle is level 2, you would be moving 3% faster than they are. Just by having this item, you'll be an extra 3% faster as well. So you can actually have in the jungle. Yeah. So if you're chasing someone through the jungle, you'll have a fairly big advantage when it comes to either running away or chasing after them. Yeah.
Yeah, and super handy. It's one of those things that you're like, oh, 3%, what does that mean? But you really feel it when
a
you're
full level advantage.
Yeah, when you're going to help cover a lane, going to employ a gank, returning from a gank to go back to farming. There's just a lot of utility in that. So cool. That was item balance singular. Now let's get to the lot of stuff. So I guess we're just gonna dive right into it. Y'all might have seen this on Tier Tuesday. But we're talking Tier 2s today, and we've got a lot of them. So how about y'all guide us into this? What brought about the changing of the Tier 2s?
Yeah, so we were brainstorming what our big beat could be for this patch, and we were going through the ages of Smite Pass and saying, what are things that people have previously liked? What are builds that we haven't been able to explore lately? What's kind of the limitations that are on our item system right now, and how can we, kind of break that a little bit in some ways? Not like in an OP sense, but kind of just in ways that we can make it new and fresh and fun. So one of the things that we felt that we had previously utilized a lot that aren't really as utilized anymore, maybe like 2 or 3 items, are Tier 2 items. They are a very interesting spot in terms of power spikes, in terms of when you get them, why you buy them, etc. And we just wanted to make that more fun. So essentially our goal is to kind of adjust the importance of your power spikes when you're getting them, how you're getting them, and then differentiating the build paths that you can go into, and having fun little mini games to play as well for all of your Tier 2s. So we're adding new Tier 2 items, passes to existing Tier 2 items, and a lot of balance to them across the board. So that's essentially the TLDR, but let's get into the specifics, shall we?
All right, yeah, well, TLDR over, specifics it is, and we're starting off in the physical branch of Tier 2 items. So, I guess there's nothing to do but dive right in. So first up in the physical tier, we have Bound Gauntlet.
Yeah, so you'll kind of see that as we go through, there are going to be kind of 2 areas of tier 2 items, where some tier 2 items are going to have really cool, unique new things that are going to be, you know, like kind of the center of attention. Like these guys are going to be really cool and new and fun.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that are kind of more inline, kind of along that like starter item kind of pathway, where you know, we want to kind of keep in mind that like we don't want things to be too extreme, but we want that power curve to be a little bit smoothed out between items. And Bound Gauntlet is a great example of one of those items, where its passive is very similar to its upgrade Soul Eater. And I think we can go into game as well to see a couple of those changes in the trees themselves. So as you'll see here, trees looking a little bit different.
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit different. So yeah, we're talking about Bound Gauntlet here. So this item in particular is now gaining an extra bit of ability healing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a very mini version of what it builds into.
Yeah.
But you could, you know, this is 1250. You can easily start this in any of your game modes as well. So it makes you think about that as well. We'll probably mention that a lot when we go through all of these items. But yeah, this is a pretty simple one. It is a price increase because it is getting a fairly big buff.
Yeah.
But being able to buy this and instantly get healing from your abilities rather than having to wait until you get the tier 3 and then the stacks on the tier 3 just makes the curve a lot smoother, and you can make your choices that way.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, and I feel like that's going to be very thematic of this update. Is like this changes the way that you can approach building these tier 3 items by getting the passives you want ahead of time. So
And some of them you could hold onto the tier 2 for a little while because maybe you just wanted a little bit of that, not the whole tier 3's worth. So you can hold onto it until you want more of the ability lifesteal later, and you could move on to a different tier 2 and a different one if you wanted to, or a different tier 3. So yeah, you'll have a lot more to think about is what I hope.
Ideally, the tier 2s are not going to be stronger than the tier 3s themselves, but they are going to be nice holdovers or nice little things to have in the kind of middle of building these items. So, you know, ideally, they're still feeling like tier 2s, but they're feeling like enhanced tier 2s.
Enhanced tier 2s. All right, well, I guess staying with the Gauntlet theme, we have Cursed Gauntlet as well.
Yeah, so one big change that you'll be seeing here just from the visual of the tree is that Cursed Gauntlet now builds into Crimson Claws in addition to Devos and Bloodforge, so that's a new addition to that side of the tree. On top of that, the cost is going down by 100 gold from 1,400 to 1,300, and the lifesteal is going up. So a little bit more advantage in terms of stats and cost efficiency there for Cursed Gauntlet, but not too much else is changing there for that guy. But one more thing we have to talk about in this tree is Bloodforge.
I'm in the tree.
And this item is just a little bit underpurchased right now, a little bit hard to buy into. It kind of fights a little bit with Devos, where Devos has the pen, but this has the nice shield and extra power if you want to go for that more expensive price spot. So we're bringing it down just a bit, giving more ability to go into this item should you choose to.
Yeah, from 2,600 down to 2,500, so just a little more buyable than it was before. And this is a really fun item as well, so we want to see more people buying it. We'll keep an eye out, obviously. With all of these changes, there'll be a lot of cost changes. We'll keep an eye on things, see how it shakes up the meta, and see what people are building. You know, Bloodforge generally kind of an assassin item, but we've seen it on Hunters too as well. A really fun one that can get you snowballing. So we want people purchasing it rather than just, you know, Devos or even the occasional Crimson Claws sometimes.
Yeah.
But as well, you know, there might be more people buying Soul Eater now that has the upgraded tier 2. So in general, this whole tree gets some changes.
Yeah, it gets to be shaken up a little bit.
Yep.
Well, to jump trees, we're going to talk about bows now, and it looks like short bow is next up on the list for changes.
Yeah, this one's a
cheap.
fun one.
Yep.
Yeah, surprising at that price there. We're going from 650 to 550 on the tier 1, and you'll kind of see why later. But this is exceedingly cheap for a number of reasons. So kind of the whole reason we kind of ended up here was charged bow was kind of the talking point when it came to the adjustments that we wanted to make for this tree. Is charged bow is a really interesting item because it does kind of do the like golden shard equivalent of like helps you clear the lane. You know, not too crazy for poke, but it is something that can help a low clear physical, you know, attack speed oriented god. And we were like, that's really cool. Let's kind of lean into this a little bit more. So what we've done here is we've taken the cost down quite a bit, but also we're taking the power level of the proc down quite a lot on charged bow itself. Odysseus bow, still the same that it was before, that has not changed. But charged bow specifically has taken a power hit and a cost hit. So if you want to get this early, get a little bit of extra clear in the jungle, ADC, solo, any of those roles in particular, you know, you could opt for this item, help you on some of those lower clearing gods.
Yeah, what we saw a lot was, especially when we moved, not Golden Bow, what was it called?
Golden Blade?
That
Golden
one.
Blade.
We removed that one, but we have the shard that you can use instead.
Yeah.
The shard didn't quite make up for Golden Blade, but a lot of people were buying tier 2 charge bow plus Golden Shard. That together will make up for it. So we're bringing that price down so you can get the shard for free, obviously.
Yeah.
And then charge bow for just 1,000 gold, and then boom, you've got your AoE clear for the jungle. So we saw a lot of Kalis, a lot of Nemesises, Bakasura, and even some like Mercuries if you want to do these crazy
Soul
attack
Laners, we're
speeds.
seeing some like Arachnes do it. And
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that.
Arachne was a big one as well. So now it just becomes that little bit more accessible, but the power came down with it as well. So
Yes.
the balance makes sense. It's just enough to be able to clear those side camps. That's what you wanted it for, alongside the Golden Shard, like I said, and then you can upgrade it to Odysseus Bow either at the start of the game or way later. You can just hold on to that tier
whenever
2 for
you
that
need it.
clear. Yep.
Awesome. Well, yeah, cool. Again, shifting the gold economy around to, you know, change the ability to access these items. Really fun to see. And we're still in the bow tree, though. We're talking about Hunter's Bow next.
Yeah, so this is, I guess we can start with Hunter's Bow here. We'll talk about what changed about Hunter's Bow, then we'll talk about why it
Yeah,
changed,
why it
because
changed.
it goes into a
Moving
little
up the
bit of a
tree, yeah.
more holistic approach. But Hunter's Bow here is getting an increased cost by 50, so not all that much, but it is gaining
Just a little.
a little bit of penetration, just 5 flat physical penetration. So you're probably going, Lermy, why are you putting flat pen on this tier 2? Well, I'll tell you, it's Stormseeker, that's why.
That's why.
So this is kind of an interesting shift here to Stormseeker. The price is going up quite significantly, about 200 gold, but it's also getting a power increase, and it's adding 10 physical penetration as well. So we had a lot of discussions around this item. It definitely was performing a lot better after the last buff, but we felt like one of the biggest core things that we missed on our initial push of Stormseeker into the game was that these early game bridge items do not feel good keeping them forever throughout the game, even if they scale up to a million billion attack speed. We definitely understood that if the stats aren't hitting, it's not going to be a very popular item. So we wanted to say, okay, you can still buy this very early. You can still get this online way faster than
2100
Devos.
is cheap, yeah.
But now it has stats that are a little bit more applicable going into that late game. So it's not quite a 100% tip in the buff direction because, again, a little bit more expensive, still very cheap, but you're getting a much, much better stat.
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Said it perfectly. You heard it here. So we're moving now away from the bows a little bit, and we're heading towards Piercing Star up next.
Oh, Piercing Star is our first brand new tier 2 that we're going to be looking at here. This is in the Morningstar tree. So yeah, you'll see here. Ooh, we got 3 tier 2s up in this tree. So Piercing Star builds into exclusively Heartseeker, no other item.
Yeah.
And this passive is that every 5 seconds, your next ability will deal 2% of the target's maximum health as physical damage. And as you can see here, this is one expensive tier 2. This might be the most expensive tier 2
Yeah.
I think it might be now.
in the
yeah.
game.
Going into Heartseeker.
Yeah, Heartseeker a very expensive item on its own, so it made sense to kind of hit that middle point. And speaking of middle point, it is kind of just a mini version of Heartseeker, right? So it's a very simple passive, the same gameplay loop as Heartseeker, but you get it online sooner. You can stick with it for a while if you want to, if you don't want to go for the full upgrade of Heartseeker. But obviously, when you get that 2750 for that Heartseeker, you get your percentage pen. But this just smooths that curve out rather than what it was before, which was I think 600, 1200, all the way up to 2750. So now you kind of get the middle point, and it's a lot more smooth for you.
Yeah, a lot more in the middle and a lot less kind of like 2 steps and then a jump. So, well, cool. I hope y'all enjoyed the Morningstar tree, because now we're going to a different tree. We're heading over to Short Sword's tree.
Yep, Short Sword. This is over in the crit tree, and we'll get to that other side later here, but let's talk about Short Sword. This was actually a really unique opportunity for us because this item's passive only happens when you have Critical Strike already, and this item itself does not have Critical Strike. So this is a passive that will only start to come into effect if you have any other critical item, critical effect, etc. So like your Jingweis, your Circuits that already get crit for free, they could use this, but you are going to need another critical strike item otherwise. But essentially what this does is when you get a critical strike, you get some power, and that does feel very nice. It's not a whole lot of power. It's still going to be less than your Rage and your Deathbringer, but you know, once you are building into that crit and you're starting to go into these more like crit amplifying, multiplying effects kind of idea when you go into like Deathbringer, it'll feel really, really nice.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
straightforward and to the very sharp-looking point.
Yeah, so, good one. Something to highlight on that one as well is there's no internal cooldown. So as fast as you can crit, you can just stack that power up immediately. There is a maximum stacks of 3, but if you can crit 3 times very quickly, immediately you're getting 15 more power from that item for relatively cheap.
Charybdis third auto attack, hit all 3 knives,
That's right.
get your
Boom,
power.
boom, boom.
Like,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
boom. All right, so speaking of points, there's 8 of them on that adjacent item there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 8-pointed
The
shuriken.
Shuriken is back.
Ha!
It is so back. And here's
so
its passive. Let's talk about it. This passive is that when damaging an enemy god with a basic attack, you gain 3% attack speed for 10 seconds, max of 5 stacks. So you might go, okay, well this looks, you know, kind of similar to other items that we've had in the past, but the difference is that you get a relatively low amount of attack speed that lasts for a long time. But you got to make sure that you're stacking this up and maintaining those stacks.
Right.
So if you're building this kind of in the mid game, as you would expect one to go crit, you want to make sure that you're still being active in boxing with the enemy hunter to make sure that you're maintaining those stacks over the long duration. And it's just a nice little bump, especially because you get attack speed going into Demon Blade or Bladed Boomerang. Both of those guys offer it, and you're not getting that from the actual base stats. You have to earn them.
Yeah, this one's a fun little mini game. Just kind of want to hit the hunter as much as you can, get those 5 stacks, and then every 10 seconds or within those 10 seconds, just want to hit them once more just to maintain those stacks so you maintain that attack speed.
Yeah.
And speaking of attack speed, I guess you'll notice this for all of the tier 2 items we're talking about. They're very thematic to what they build in. So yes, there is attack speed in those tier 3s that it builds into. Same with all the other tier 2s. So if it builds off crit like Short Sword does, and you get stacks from crit, that's because we're building into a crit tree. So it's very thematic of what it builds into.
Yeah, so not just fun to mix up that middle tree and change your buy
right,
options,
yeah.
but like you said, it's thematic. So
Exactly, yep.
well placed. So from there we moved to 1,000-fold blade, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is our Katana tree. And as you can see here, this 1,000-fold blade builds into Shadow Drinker, Equinox, and Hasten Katana.
Yeah.
The passive on this one's pretty fun as well, where you gain 5% movement speed for 10 seconds on killing or assisting an enemy god, and this stacks up to 3 times.
Yeah.
So you get 3 kills, you get 15% movement speed. Well, kills or assists, I should say. But,
Yeah.
pretty unlikely to happen, but that'll feel really good when you do.
Yeah, in arena and things like that, that's the really fun one. Other game modes, Conquest, it's a little less likely. It does allow you to snowball or get out after you get a kill, but in arena, you're just going to kind of be zooming around all the time, assault and things like that. When kills are happening around you, this item is really good.
Yep.
I can see the perfect. You got Eye of the Jungle. You have this.
Yeah.
You get a team fight in mid, and they're like, all right, let's go to Phoenix, and you're already there.
You are zipping and zooming.
Yeah, that'd be like what 18% movement speed bonus. Like
A lot, yeah.
As long as you cut into the jungle, you're flying.
Yep.
So you're like, go to the Phoenix. I've been at the Phoenix. All right, cool. So Shadow Drinker up next.
Yeah, so Shadow Drinker is kind of along those same lines that we talked about for Stormseeker earlier, where it was very, very cheap, but just not really providing the oomph that you would want out of a tier 3 item. So what we're doing here is we're bumping the cost up by a smidge, 50 gold, 1 less pot in your inventory, 1 less ward, whatever it might be, but you're getting 10 more power.
10 whole power.
So that is a very significant stat stick now at 45.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel very nice, and of course you get that extra bonus passive of the stealth and movement speed as well. And that movement speed does not go away when you get on stealth. So the stealth movement speed not connected, still going to feel like a very nice bump in that direction in terms of overall effectiveness of that item.
Nice. I'm all for it. I love a little bit of stealth anyway. So next, this is new next to it. We have Swift Edge.
Yeah. This is a brand new tier 2 katana.
And new tier 2. Looks good. I love new art.
Yeah.
This built into specifically serrated edge, and this one has a fun passive as well, where damaging an enemy god with an ability grants 3% movement speed toward them for 3 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So you got 3 abilities, you hit them with 3 abilities, you get 9% movement speed specifically towards them. You gotta keep fighting them.
That's aggressive.
Otherwise, you're not getting the movement speed. Think of it kind of like Gilgamesh 3, where you gotta walk towards
Thanatos
his beacon.
passive,
Yeah,
yeah.
Thanatos passive. All in that same vein. It works exactly the same. As long as you're hitting them with abilities, you'll get this movement speed buff, and you'll be able to stack it up and keep it up. But again, not a very long one, so gotta be back-to-back-to-back abilities, or you're gonna be losing this movement speed.
Hit him with the quick ones. And I just like that it's aggressive movement speed, though. Like, we've seen some, like,
Yeah, it's my favorite type.
jungle movement speed. We've seen some, like, general out-of-combat movement speed. This is, like, I'm going to get you movement speed.
That's right, yeah.
So,
You just choose your target and just run straight at them. Hold
run
W. Yeah.
directly at them. Holding W is like a specialty of mine. So I'm all for it. So from Swift Edge, we move to Balanced Blade.
Yes, Balance Blade. This builds off of Light Blade, and now it only builds into Asi and Executioner. So what does Balance Blade do now? Well, it's got a passive that on damaging an enemy god with a basic attack, gain 2 physical penetration for 5 seconds. This stacks up to 3 times. So a much shorter loop, but a much stronger loop
Yes,
as well, because
yeah.
penetration is just generally way more important, especially in this like kind of transition phase where, you know, Asi Executioner are usually like your 2-3 item
That's right.
slot. You know, usually you get lifesteal first, and afterward you might want to build into something else. And speaking of lifesteal, in this tree you might even say,
Whoa.
Penetration on this tier 2 for some reason. Lomi.
yeah, there is penetration on this. So you might be saying, well, there's no pen on Asi. Well, now there is.
It's back.
It is so back. Let's talk about that a little bit here. So this is a bit of a trade, of course. Asi is still a little bit more expensive than your average, item, but it's still kind of on that same pace as you would be going for Devos or something like that. So it's getting a little bit less power here, taken from 45 down to 40, but you're trading for
And
10 physical
penetration.
pen, which
Yeah,
is going
really
to
good.
be
Yeah.
really, really nice as
Really
well. So hopefully this item sees a little bit more action. I think that it's certainly a favorite of casuals, but now might be a little bit more competitive as well alongside Devos.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It was a very, very popular item back when it had penetration on it before, so I can only imagine the same will happen this time around.
Yep.
Yeah, we're coming back. We are so back. So moving from Assy, we have the Keen Blade up
Yep.
next.
Yes, another brand new tier 2 item coming on back. This builds into Chins and Duality. And this is going to be another very expensive tier 2 item tied up here with Piercing Star. But Keen Blade is going to have a new passive as well that does your basic attacks deal an additional 10% of your basic attack power as physical damage. And that's quite a bit of extra damage. So think of it like a mini Chinsai or a mini Duality proc, but based off of your basic attack damage. You know, the stats for a tier 2, they're pretty okay, but the passive is really what's going to make this item shine.
That's right. The passive is what makes it worth it, because it is, again, we said for Piercing Star was one of the most expensive tier 2s. This is actually the same price point. So just generally, Duality, Kin Size, Heartseeker, those are your kind of luxury late game big damage items. So the tier 2s are priced accordingly for those.
Makes sense. Don't want to fly too quickly to all that punchy extra damage, because things would get crazy. So we're moving forward next to an item that I can assume I know how to say and will say confidently, Chele.
That's correct.
Hey.
Shillelagh. Oh man, this is a fan favorite coming on back. And check out that price, by the way. It is very, very cheap here at 1,100. And the fun thing about this price is that you could even start this if you wanted to in something like solo, or it might even be more applicable in modes like Assault or Joust or Duel, anything like that where you kind of want this early game mana boon, because it does have some, you know, it has okay stats for a tier 2, but the passive is what's really cool, where it kind of has that similar vibe to Blackthorn, where when you get under 25% of your max mana, you gain MP5, but you don't get that other benefit of the cooldown above 25% of your max mana. So you're just getting the sustain, no extra cooldown, just a little bit of power health and that extra mana when you drop under.
Yeah, a thought I'm interested in trying in solo lane is maybe start this, you get your health chalice, you could even save the extra gold or just buy 2 more potions, then you only have to be in lane for another 1,100 gold before you can get the full Black Thorns, or you can back early, get a starter right on top of that. This is a really, really strong tier 2 for the early game, just because the sheer amount of mana sustain that it has, and the other stats you want as well, just physical power and health, like perfect for your warriors or your solo lane assassins. So I'm really interested to see how people play around this one, and some other ones we have coming up.
Yeah, this is definitely, mana sustain is always a huge thing. Like, there's a lot of things. I can be low on health and still boxing, I'm fine, but when I run out of mana is when I stress. So having an item like this to resort to, especially at the early game when mana sustain can be an issue if you're just lobbing abilities.
Yeah.
I love it, so I'm all for it. So Heavy Hammer up next in the Hammer tree.
Well. Heavy Hammer.
Well.
We may have seen this
Some
once upon
familiar
a
icons
time.
here, yeah.
A little bit familiar passive from days past. But this passive that only built into Frostbound Hammer, and again, I will remind folks that this is only buildable on melee characters. You cannot buy this in ranged. This passive is that each time you basic attack an enemy god, remember that, gain a stack. When you have 4 stacks, your next basic attack damage slows the enemy god hit by 15% for 2 seconds, and then additional slows applied from this item refresh the duration, they don't add to it.
That's right.
And then on top of that, we're increasing the cost from 1,350 to 1,400. So yeah, this is going to be a nice little transitionary item for those folks that want to build into Frostbound, but kind of want the effect a little bit sooner. You do have to fight people a lot to get this going.
Yeah, you have to get the auto attacks to get the slow. It isn't just a slow on first auto attack and then keep auto attacking them. You have to already be able to chase them at least just a little bit, maybe with a dash or 2, and then you get your slow and you can keep up with them again. So this is kind of a mini version, but as well has its own like kind of gameplay loop.
Yeah, for sure. And it really good too for if you're laning against somebody that you're fighting, you're winning these, you're boxing, you're winning these fights, but they just keep slipping away. Like maybe this is the key to like help you lock in the kill.
That's right. You can auto attack someone once or twice, and then maybe by that point you're gonna have to dash after them. Let's say your nemesis or something. You dash after them, you get another auto attack, and you dash after them again, you get another auto attack, and they start gapping you again, but they can't because your next auto attack actually slows them when your dash is down. So you're getting those few extra hits after you've already committed to them. So this is an item that really the slow will only come into play once you've committed to hitting the god. So it's interesting to be able to see, well, it will be interesting to be able to see how people play around this. You know, it might be build them in the solo lane as well, not just the jungle. So just not on hunters. That's the main one.
Yeah, just not physical, like melee attacks.
Melee, yep.
Yes.
All right, so last but not least in the physical tree, we have the Smithy's Hammer.
Yeah, so this is a good example of a new item that doesn't have a passive. Not every tier 2 item is going to be getting a passive in this patch. This is essentially just going to be more of a stat stick. So you'll see that, these items that don't have passives will either be cheaper, have better stats, something along those lines. But Smithy's Hammer in particular is going to be building into Runeforged and also Dawnbringer. And pretty solid stats, pretty solid price.
Yeah. You could even start with it, like we said, there's going to be a lot of items kind of like this, where you've got HP 5, power, and health. Like, kind of what else do you want in the early game? You've got an extra 300 gold to buy a chalice or some potions. You can get creative with your early game builds. Maybe you want to choose your starter later in the game, then you can do that with items like this.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that does it for the physical section of our tier 2 items, but we have 2 sections yet remaining. And next up, whoa, is that Khepri? I love
Hey, he's back.
Looks
back, the boy.
much better without his brain.
I was about to say, he looks much more adorable.
He's cuter, but I kind of miss the intimidation factor.
Okay. That's all I got for you there. All right, so let's move into magical items. So I guess we'll just kick it off with some talons. We have the Talon Trinket.
Yeah, Talon Trinket. So this guy builds into Bancroft's and Typhon's Fang, and so Talon Trinket, unsurprisingly, does some stuff with lifesteal.
Whoa.
This passive is that each second you are in God combat, gain 1 magical power and 1% lifesteal for 5 seconds, up to a max of 20
That's
stacks.
a lot.
So you spend 20 seconds in combat with another god, you are getting an absolute boatload of lifesteal and power. But again, that is a long, long time for especially squishier characters buying this to be in combat. But it's a very interesting loop where if you really do want to encourage yourself to be in these fights for a long time, you will get a very big reward.
Yeah. So you can kind of, you don't have to go all the way in to just stay in combat for 20 seconds. You can kind of just, the combat timer is 5 seconds. So as long as you poke them every 5 seconds, you'll continue to restart that timer and continue to stay in combat and build up those stacks.
Exactly.
And if you can do that and play that little fun gameplay loop, you can stay in combat and get a lot of magical power and a lot of lifesteal, especially for a tier 2 priced at $13.50.
Yes, and that's why the base power and lifesteal has gone down, because as Ro described there, the mechanic is a little bit easier than it looks like on the surface to actually maintain. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't too unfair, that when you are getting up to these high stack counts, that you're not going crazy and feeling even more powerful than the tier 3s, right? That's still our goal, is to make sure these guys are slightly underpowered compared to the tier 3s, but there are ways to access power levels almost up to the tier 3s.
That make it really cost efficient. If you can maintain 20 stacks for an extended period of time, you're getting 65 power from this item and what is it, 25% lifesteal. That's insane from a $13.50 item.
But
you have to earn it. You have to earn it. It takes 20 seconds to get there, and then you have to be able to use it after that as well. So you're in combat for even longer. So if you can earn it and use it, it's really, really good. So I want to see some players just kind of get in there and get in the combat and just try to fight until that item is really efficient, and then win the fight after that.
Yep.
Makes sense. Well, see, it'll be simple because I'll be playing Khepri. The enemy Geb will buy it. I'll buy it, and we'll just slap each other in the face for free.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
And that's a solo lane.
All right. So next up, we're moving to the Ring Tree, and we have Mystic Ring.
Yes, Mystic Ring. So this is a brand new item as well. This is going to build into Demonic Grip and Hastened Ring. It's going to be 1,300 gold, 40 magical power, 20 attack speed.
And pretty cheap for those stats.
Yeah, no passive.
Yeah.
Very standard.
Straightforward, beautiful ring that makes you hit harder and faster. So
That's right.
What else is to be said? Absolutely lovely. So staying in this tree, we have Enchanted Ring as well.
Yep, and then Enchanted Ring, which is previously the only tier 2 that has been in this tree, this now builds into Cyclopean, and this is the other ring in this tree, which is Telkines. I know the difference, believe me. There's a lot of rings. Okay. This passive is that your next basic attack deals an additional 5+3 per level magical damage. This effect can only occur once every 8 seconds, which is reduced by 2 seconds for each successful basic attack on an enemy god.
Right.
So that might seem pretty, vaguely familiar, of 2 different items that may also happen to be
a combination
in the
of
tree.
both.
A little bit of a mismatch where, if you want to upgrade up into Cyclopean, you'll get even more proc, a little bit easier as well. And then on top of that, if you decide to upgrade it to Telkines, you'll get a much better scaling proc. So you kind of pick your path. You get a little bit of both, little taste of both sides, but you got to choose one to go into up to the tier 3. The other things that happened to this item is that the cost went up because obviously you're getting a really nice effect on top of this, and the power is also going down from 40 to 35 because, again, more procs, more power. Feels nice.
It's one of those where you have to balance to make sure a tier 2 doesn't accidentally become kind of a tier 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. We have all of our jewelry on. Time to hit the town. First stop, the library. We have the Book of Souls.
Yeah. Okay. This up next, we've got Book of Souls, which builds into Soul Reaver and Polynomicon. Yeah. And again, you'll kind of see the inspiration that we took here when it comes to both of these items are essentially kind of proc items that play around like with your power and the enemies, etc. So this one is that you gain a stack each time you damage an enemy god with an ability or basic attack. At 4 stacks, your next ability or basic attack deals 20 plus 4 per level magical damage.
Yeah, you before you choose your path, you get a kind of taste of both, and you can say, well, I'm getting my basic attacks a lot, right, to proc this item. So maybe I want to go into a really strong basic attack proc, and you go for Polynomicon. Or if it's your abilities, you go into the strong ability proc, which is Soul Reaver. So it's a taste of both. Same as the ring tree, you just kind of get the tier 2, kind of see how your character or your god is playing out, and how you're getting these procs, and then choose your path from there.
Yeah, the proc also does feel really nice. I will say.
I like seeing numbers.
Big yellow numbers. That is the goal of this tree for sure.
Well, if Book of Souls isn't your favorite book, maybe put it back on the shelf and go check out the Book of Secrets instead.
This one's really cool.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
This tier 2 item has a passive typed effect that we have never really done before in the history of Smite. But let's talk about the stats really quick. It's 1,200 gold, 40 magical power, and 200 mana. So pretty solid stats
what you'd
across
expect
the board.
from a book. Yep.
Yeah, pretty normal. But let's talk about that passive. So what exactly does it do? So each time you damage an enemy god with an ability, gain a stack. Each stack does nothing, but when you upgrade this item, the stacks transfer to the upgraded item. You may only gain 1 stack every 4 seconds and can only gain stacks once per god per ability, hit max 50 stacks, all that other junk that comes with it. But essentially, the really cool thing about this is that you can start stacking your Book of Thoth or Tablet of Destinies early.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
on a tier 2, you could start this item and start these stacks early. So you can see there's 1 stack on Khepri there. There's 2 stacks. You can see the 4-second cooldown. That's right. Yep. Yeah, Harrison's got this. This is it. You just get every time you damage an enemy, same rules as Tablet.
Yep.
You can get your stacks early. So this will stack up to 50 times because Tablet stacks up to 50 times. And I guess that's a little spoiler from the future one as well. The other tier 2 Book of Thoth will also stack up to 50 times now as well and adjust it accordingly. So yeah, really cool that you get to buy your tier 2. You can start with it if you want, get those stacks on early, even just go and finish some other items. And when you've got a high amount of stacks, boom, you transfer those stacks onto the tier 3 for just 1,350 or 1,300 gold, and you're up and away. You get kind of this head start on your build, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's been really fun to play around with, mixing up when you upgrade this item or, how often you're looking to actually start with it. Picking when you pick up the starter item as well if you want to start with this and then get a starter item when you back. It's just provided a whole lot of new shakeups in terms of, when you're choosing to back and when you're choosing to upgrade, which has been really, really interesting to play around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, the 2 big takeaways are, one, when it said the stacks do nothing, I was like, all right, they cooking, because that's one of the lines that has a but right behind it.
We hope players continue to read.
But
I promise they do something later.
Well, and see, you don't have to worry about that. You see how quickly I picked up on it?
There you go.
Very intuitively designed. If I picked up on it that quick, I think it'll be all right. So cool. So you kind of mentioned it earlier, Book of Thoth also having a few changes to kind of align itself with this, right?
Exactly. This is essentially just a shift of all of the various stats that you gain from Book of Thoth from 100 stacks to 50. So the damage requirement is going up per stack, and you get more mana per stack as well. This is essentially no balance change at all, just moving the stacks to 50, so it plays more nicely with Book of Secrets.
Yep, exactly, yeah. So for every stack you get a Book of Secrets, will convert 1-to-1 into both Book of Thoth and Tablet of Destinies.
Perfect. Gotta love that. Continued reading, the chapter 2. All right, so cool. We're leaving the bookstore now and heading over to Sorcerer's Staff.
Yeah, Sorcerer Staff. This one is the one that builds into Curse Weaver and Warlock's staff. And this one also has a very cool, unique new effect. Where, upon leveling up, you heal 10% of your maximum health and mana over 3 seconds. And the cost has also gone down from 1,350 to 1,300 gold.
Nice.
So yeah, we have never had an item with an effect on when you level up.
Yeah.
So this has a limited amount of uses. As many of you know, you only get to level 20 in a game. But you do level up rather quickly in the early game. So if you choose to start this one, you'll be getting some nice heals at kind of new power spikes that really haven't been thought around much before.
Yeah, this was kind of an interesting one because we were thinking about tier 2s in general. general and being like, well, you don't have tier 2s later into the game for too long because you just have higher gold gains at that point in the game. But in the early game, if you buy this early, what are you doing a lot? You're leveling up a lot, right? Yeah. Even in the very early game of Conquest, for example, you're getting level 2 off just the jungle camp. So immediately, before you even get to lane, you're getting a proc of this item. Then 1 or 2 waves, you're getting another proc. Another 1 or 2 waves after that, you're getting another proc. So it's a good amount of sustain in the early game, and then you can upgrade it to your item after that. Or you can hold on to it and just get that mana increase and the health increase every time you level up.
Yeah.
I feel like items like this are so deceptive too, because you're like, oh, well, what a limited effect. It only works X amount of times. But like you just said, like if once you learn how this item works, you could be boxing with somebody and you're like, all right, I'm about to level up. I can turn, throw an ability at the minion wave, start getting health back, keep fighting, win this trade. Like it's just, there's a lot of micro play that can be worked into this, and then upgrade it to whatever item you want after, and you're on the road. So that's going to be fun. I'm excited to see how the talented Smite players put that to good use. So moving on from Sorcerer Staff, we have Enchanted Spear.
Yeah, this is the tier 2 that builds into Divine Ruin and Spear of Desolation.
Gotcha.
So this one is the pen tree, of course.
Yes.
And what does Enchanted Spear give? Well, it gives flat magical penetration. So Enchanted Spear is getting a cost decrease and a magic power decrease, but it's going to be a little bit easier to get this guy in the early game, started off a little bit faster, because now on damaging enemy god once per god per ability, gain 2 magical pen for 10 seconds up to 3 times.
Yeah, that's up to 6 magical pen on the passive alone, so you get 5 on the item as well, so 11 total. And again, it's this gameplay loop of, can I stay in combat? Can I keep hitting this god within that 10-second stack period? And it stacks up to 3 times. I just want to maintain 3 stacks for as long as possible. So within every 10 seconds, I want to hit the enemy god with an ability, keep a hold of that magical penetration, which is making up a really efficient tier 2 item for that price.
Yep.
Rock and roll. And last but not least, under the magical tree umbrella, we have the Restored Artifact.
Yeah, Restored Artifact builds into a wide variety of items. There's not much that really unites Chronos Pendant, Charon's Coin, and Rada Tahuti. But the one thing they have in common is mana sustain. Yep. They all got MP5. So one nice little boon you'll get from going into Restored Artifact is that on damaging enemy god once per god per ability, restore 1% of your maximum mana.
That's right. Yeah, this one's really interesting. Yeah, kind of the more layers you think about it, it actually gets more interesting, because like, well, what if my god has a really cheap costing ability? Thanatos, for example, he doesn't really have mana problems anyway, but just an example of a god that has really cheap mana costs. Yeah. You're basically just gaining mana by hitting abilities, so you can never go And for those gods that do go a lot, but you're hitting enemy gods a lot, there you go. You've got your item to restore 1% of your mana every time.
Hebo is a really good character. Changa would be another really good character to get this item on. Just characters
Changa
that have
especially stay out of base for a long time. Yeah.
Really quick cooldowns that are able to get yourself a lot of mana back real fast.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also makes sense too that it's once per ability per god, because drop something
bit crazy.
Take damage. You're like, I just got 12% of my mana back.
Yeah, that would be a little wild.
That's a lot. So I like the balance on that, because it makes it feel not insane. Cool. So we've made it through the magical items. We are into our final of the trio of variety items. We're into the defensive area now. This is as a Guardian lover, this is kind of my bread and butter. So I'm really excited to dive into these. And we're starting off with the Gem of Fate.
Yes.
Gem of Fate, an iconic, expensive item. You'll see a little bit less iconically expensive, but still expensive. We felt like Gem of Fate's price was definitely a very interesting cost, and it has been that since I think its introduction in Smite in like season 5 or something along those lines. So it's been a long time where it's been 900 gold. But we feel like over the years it's been a little bit prohibitive in terms of making these items feel a little bit more balanced, especially in that power spike. You're getting this item and then you're getting the next couple of items really, really quickly afterward. So as you see here, the prices are not super different at the top end, but on the lower end, it's coming down quite significantly to let you build into this 10% cooldown a lot faster.
Yeah, really the only time you were happy that this item was 900 gold when you got it from your Gilgamesh passive. Like, oh my god, great, I got a great value 900 gold starter. So we're just bringing it down to 750. It becomes more applicable to all gods. And then as you can see, we can only see half of the tree right now because we're on Capri. We're not going to make JMac change. Just take my word for it. The Knight's Shield, which is the one on the very right, the Apprentice Staff, those two that you can see both down from 1600 to 1500. And then Honed Edge, I know JMac can't see it right now, but the same treatment down from 1600 to 1500.
Yes, and then every single tier 3 in this tree is retaining its tier 3 cost, except for Erendite, which is going down 100 gold, again, to kind of get more in line with the jungle meta of keeping things at that reasonable price right now.
Well, good stuff. That kind of covered that tree beautifully. So now we're moving on to some cool rocks. We have the Sage's Stone. I guess Gem of Fate is a cool rock too.
Yeah.
Second cool rock.
So Sage's Stone built into Erosion and Abyssal Stone.
Yeah.
The cost is going down quite significantly here from 1,400 to 1,250. The physical protection is also going down just a little bit, and the magical protection the same amount, but the health is going up. So we're doing a little bit here where we want to make sure that these items are feeling differentiated, but still related to the things that they're building into, right? Another item that does not have a passive, but a very, very solid stat stick that is significantly cheaper for slightly less prots, slightly more health.
Yep. And the reason we change these stats so heavily is because on the other side, on Enchanted Stone, again,
New.
no passive. It is new, but no passive on the other side, just stats. So we made these items as different as we could in terms of their stats. So Sage's Stone, as you see on the left there, and then moving to the right, we see the Enchanted Stone, different stats, different cost, just to make your choice a little bit more interesting when you go into those tier 3s.
Nice. And yeah, like you said, new. So cool to see that in there as well. So all right, Emerald Mail is up next.
Yes, this is another exciting one over in the Emerald tree. Surprisingly, I know, not in the Mail tree. This passive
Had both words. It makes
is
sense.
that getting an assist on an enemy god
Okay.
or minion grants protections for 5 seconds. You get 2 prots for 5 seconds. That goes up to 5 stacks. So again, all of these tier 3 items do provide protections in some form or another. Gauntlet of Thebes eventually gets prots.
Right.
So that's kind of the pathway that we were looking at here.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cost is also going up to compensate for that a little bit.
Yeah, but 10 prots would be really efficient. 5 stacks of 2, as long as you just staying around waves, staying around enemy gods that are dying. As long as there's action going near you, and you stick around and use those stacks, that item ends up being really cost efficient for what it is. Before it was kind of just a stat stick of health and HP 5. Didn't do a lot for you. Now you can actually play around the cool new passive.
And it gives you a great way to engage too. If you're playing with somebody that's great clear, throw an ability through the entire wave, let
Your
them
protections.
finish off the entire wave, and then you can start boxing right after that because you
And
have
then
those
you're tanky.
protections built up. Yeah. So really cool. So similar tree. You got the Emerald Talisman as
Yep.
well.
This one built into Stone of Gaia and just kind of underbought. I would say
Very, yeah.
significantly underbought item.
So did
So
Son of Gaia.
yeah, we're dropping the price here from 1,400 to 1,250. Just a nice big bump in the more purchasable direction to see if people want to play around with this knockup passive, which can be kind of narrow, but in the right matchups,
That's
Yeah,
right.
in the
Tier?
right matchups, it goes hard.
by all means.
So quite the fire sale we have. A lot of these items, awesome price cuts. All right, so next it says new right here. I love the word new. Defender's Blade, huh?
Yes, this tree is looking quite a bit different here. So
Yeah, it is.
Defender's Blade is going to be building into Lotus Sickle and also Relic Dagger, 2 of the more supportive oriented items that you'll be checking out here.
Yeah, this one, you can hover over it there, JMac for us, so everybody can see it. Is 1350 gold for Defender's Blade, 150 health, 5% speed, and a 10% cooldown reduction.
Yes, that's kind of wild to get
Yeah.
the cooldown reduction at that point in the game as well.
Yeah.
These are kind of underbought items as well, and we kind of had that similar discussion that we did with Stormseeker, where it was like, should we bump this cost up? Maybe not, because for supports especially, it's going to be very difficult to kind of
Right,
go into
yep.
those higher price points, but perhaps making this transition a little bit more exciting by putting some more enticing stats, I might say, on the tier 2 is going to feel very, very nice. So 10% cooldown is really the standout here for Defender's Blade.
Yeah.
And to kind of move into the tier 3 a little bit here, Lotus Sickle
Jump up the tree.
is getting a slight increase in protections from 20 to 25 on that physical side.
Yeah, another underbought item as well. So we hope people actually just get eyes on these items. They see them in patch notes and they can buy them and actually realize how good they can be.
Gonna feel real nice.
Gonna be real nice, especially for our little friend, the Lotus Sickle. So after the Lotus Sickle, we have Curse Blade to talk about.
Yes, Curse Blade, this builds into just Toxic Blade.
Yeah.
But essentially, this is going to be the anti-heal component of Toxic Blade, but on Curse Blade.
Yep. Yeah, just another mini version to smooth out that curve. A lot of the problems with, we actually saw it recently with Smite too, where there was a very low cost anti-heal item. Sometimes when you're like, oh this enemy team has healing, we need to take care of it right now, but you don't have enough gold to get a full tier 3 item where all your anti-heal is. Now you can get kind of a mini version, just 1250 gold, get that 20% online. That'll help you out a little bit until you can get up to the 2300 cost of full Toxic Blade.
Yeah, that's really helpful to have because I feel like that decision always comes right after. It's like, oh, well, I just bought a tier 3. I have no gold.
Yeah, and you just lost this big team fight. Yeah.
It's like I can either sell and be completely inefficient, or I just have to wait till I get the money. So yeah, having that step up is going to be really handy for sure. So now we're moving into the Talisman territory with Silver Talisman.
Yeah, Talisman time. So as you can see here, Silver Talisman is going to be building into only Pestilence. And the reason is because it also is going to be providing earlier anti-heal. This one is kind of the same vibe as Pestilence, where if they're within 55 units, their healing is reduced. And again, it does not stack with similar auras. So no doubling up with Contagion, no double Pestilence and Silver Talisman. You know, you got to make sure that you are sticking to one of them.
Yeah, choose your one. Let that be the one, because otherwise, again, not efficient. So now we have the word new yet again with Renewing Talisman. Looks pretty. I like it.
Brand new tier 2 item here, building into Absolution, Heart Ward, and Talisman of Energy, with the passive that each time you are damaged or damage an enemy god, once per ability of course, you gain a stack. Upon reaching 5 stacks, you lose all your stacks and then restore 100 mana in a 40 unit radius around you.
That's cool.
So one of the cool things that this item kind of builds into is you get a lot of these useful team effects, right? So these are all very supportive versus, you know, harmful from the Pestilence side of things. So being able to grant some mana back to your team is a very fun effect. It also is very thematic to the tree in terms of helping your team. And yeah, just a nice little mana boost as you're on your way to these other more standard mana boosts.
Yeah, and pretty good stats for the cost as well. Only 1250 for 35 magical protection and 150 health. And also, obviously, that mana hitting all your allies around you, it hits you too, so you're getting the mana boost as well.
Yeah, very, very handy. And next on the list, we have Spellbound Kusari.
Yeah, so this is in the Kusari tree, of course.
Yeah.
And we split these up in a very interesting way where you have the more selfish Kusaris and the more selfless Kusaris. On the left, we've got our selfish ones. So we're talking about Spellbound here, which builds into Oni Hunter's Garb and Genji's Guard, with the passive that when you are hit by an ability that deals magical damage, gain 5% damage, magical damage mitigation for 5 seconds with an internal cooldown of 12 seconds.
That's right. Yeah. So specifically against magical gods, as this whole tree is really, you're building it. You need I need some sudden magical defense. This is actually a really efficient 1250 gold to buy this item. Really efficient damage mitigation for the magical gods specifically. So it won't help you against the hunters and the assassins and the warriors that are hitting you. But if you're dying to mages and you need to fix that real quick, this is an item to do it.
And 5% damage mitigation might not seem like a lot, right? But against your lane opponent, especially if they're trying to combo into you, or there's a magical jungler trying to gank you, or the mid laner has rotated, or the support is smacking you, any of these situations, it's really going to help a lot, and it's going to add up over time.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, for the enemies playing against this as well, you can see that it only has a duration of 5 seconds, but an internal cooldown of 12 seconds. So you can kind of hit them with a low damaging ability, wait those 5 seconds, and then for the next 7 seconds, you've got full freedom where they don't have that damage mitigation, and you can burst them like you normally would. So both sides can play around this item.
Yeah, you can commit after you're like, all right, 5 seconds is over. Like, now's the time. Throw the ults. Super cool, yeah. So next up, here's a new word that I've never gotten to use before. Daimyo's Kusari?
Yeah, Daimyo's Kusari.
Daimyo's Kusari.
So this builds into Void Domaru and also into Shogun's Kusari. And this passive is that for each enemy god within 55 units of you, reduce all enemy gods' magical protections by 4. For each allied god within 55 units of you, increase all allied gods' attack speed by 5%. So if you got a lot of allies with you, you're getting a lot of attack speed amongst yourselves. If you got a lot of enemies around you, you are reducing all of their prots by a significant amount. So again, one of those best of both worlds items where it really depends on how in there you're getting. If you're around your allies more, you're going to be helping them a lot. But if you're around your enemies more, you're going to be hurting them a lot.
That's right. Yeah, it's another one of those where you get a bit of both of the tier 3s, and then you choose your path from there. If you want to continue playing aggressive and stealing their or taking their protections, then you upgrade into the offensive side. And if you wanted to stay with your team and give them the attack speed, then you go into the defensive side. So you just kind of choose your path. You get both from the tier 2 for only 1,300 gold, and then choose from there.
Yep.
Nice, yeah. Decide based on the flow of the game.
That's right.
So next up, we're moving over towards Breastplate, specifically the Silver Breastplate.
Yeah, so you'll see that this tree has once again been split up into 2 different pathways, but Silver Breastplate is the one on the left. This now builds into Breastplate of Regrowth and Breastplate of Valor. The cost has gone up, and the physical protection has gone down, but that's because, again, another 10% cooldown reduction on a tier 2.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting and applicable stat for those that want it. You're getting it anyway on the upgrades. So we're seeing if this kind of more power spiky method where you're getting more stats for a little bit more of a price point feels really good to players. And again, you are trading off some of those protections, so you're going to be able to be a little bit more offensive oriented with your extra abilities to be fired out, but you are going to be paying for that a little bit in a little bit more shmoney and a little bit less protections.
And it builds into that Breastplate of Regrowth, which is, again, another underboard item. We're going to help it just a little bit by adding 5 more protections to Breastplate of Regrowth, as you see, up to 50 now. I think that's even with everything in that tier 3 tree. I think they're all 50 now.
Yep.
This had to happen, so they're all 50.
Yeah, just bring everything in line a little bit and help Breastplate.
Couldn't just leave it at 45. The other one, yeah.
They ought to be friends.
It started feeling bad. So now, see the word new again, another new tier 2. We have the Sturdy Breastplate.
Yes, this is going to be building into Contagion and Spectral armor, but this guy is another stat stick of an item. It's got a lot of props.
Yeah.
For very, very cheap. 1050 is a very, very solid price for a tier 2 item. So this is going to be your power spike through stats versus power spike through passive of this tree. And so you are really enjoying to see some very solid stats there.
The most interesting part of this one is you're seeing HP 5 instead of MP 5 on this side of the tree in the Breastplate tree. So very, very different than how it's always been. This whole tree has been MP 5. But as we move on, we can move on to Spectral armor now on the right side. And you can see no more MP5, it is now HP5. So this side of the tree, because they come from this tier 2, is now that health per 5 seconds instead of the mana per 5 seconds. So you get to get the tier 1, you just get your physical protections, and then you choose your path from there, whether or not you want to go health oriented or mana oriented. And then so on the right with Sturdy Breastplate is your health, and then Contagion, again, 25 HP5 instead of the MP5 that it previously had. The stats are getting adjusted as well. Spectral armor down from 250 health to 100, increased from 150 health to 250, so quite a bit tankier than what it was before.
Yeah.
And because of the mana got removed on Contagion, because again, thematic with the health rather than the mana, we've added another 100 health to that item as well. So 200 health on top of the physical protections and the HP5 you got. Very tanky side of the tree, whereas the other side is more utility. Could be offensive with your cooldowns and your extra mana to use those abilities, but on the right side, you've got the very defensive options.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the all right, what do I need for this game? I have a very direct path to choose which side of the stats I want. Just feels comfortable. It feels like a very intuitive change. You kind of flow up the tree based on the match.
Yeah.
So I had the honor of getting to tweet about this recently myself. We have Spiked Shield coming up.
Yeah.
It's like a shield with spikes in it.
It is indeed a shield with spikes in it. This builds into Gladiator Shield and Void Shield for 1,400 gold, so a more expensive side of things, but also a lot of procs, solid amount of health, and some good HP 5. So a nice bit of sustain as well going into that side of the tree.
That's right.
Which is always nice.
And then, we can take over to the Tower Shield, which is also having some changes.
Yeah, so this guy built into Phalanx and Berserkers, and the passive might seem vaguely familiar to you. This passive is each second you are in God combat, gain 1% attack speed for 5 seconds, max 10 stacks. So again, kind of similar to what we saw with Talon Trinket, but a little bit less time in combat because we know that, in the solo lane especially, those guys like to brawl.
Yeah.
So that would be a pretty significant stat bump if you were to be getting even more stacks at that. So I want to be careful with that, but we are pulling some stats from this item as well to make sure that it's feeling pretty fair, that you're getting those extra bumps, especially the attack speed as well, because that is brand new for this level of the tree.
So this is your kind of, your auto attacker version. You can auto attack whenever you want, obviously, unless you're disarmed, of course. And then the other Talon Trinket was for abilities. Obviously, abilities have cooldowns. Basic attacks do not. So, they have an attack timing, but they don't have a cooldown. So you're getting them much more often, so you have the chances to get them within that 5 seconds instead of the Talon Trinket one, which was within the 10 seconds for abilities specifically.
Yeah. It makes sense to me. And like you said, fun for brawling, right? Because if you're really getting into each other's faces, you just build that attack speed, and it's just who has the better sustain. Guess we're going to find out. So next up, we have Steel Mail.
Oh, this one is very interesting. This one builds into only Mystical Mail. And you might be wondering, why does it build into only Mystical Mail?
Pretty easy, yeah.
You can guess.
It is the mini version of Mystical Mail. So if you're really struggling in the early game for your clear, or whatever you're playing, let's say solo lane because this is a tank item, you can get this magical damage per second to all enemies around you, just in the 25 units, same as Mystical Mail, but for a much lesser number, and not a number that's scaling either. So for 1,400 gold, technically you could start this, not too many potions though, just to, you could also just get your clear, you get a mini version of Mystical Mail. So if you're a Sobek or something that doesn't have much clear in the solo lane, Now, all of a sudden, you do. So you can buy this. You can kind of get your clear online for at least a couple waves. You won't have too many potions, so you have to back early, but you can then back. You can get your starter item. You can upgrade to mystical mail, and then you've really got some clear. So this just brings the price point down to get the value that you want from this item down to a 1,400 gold value. But again, it won't scale. It won't be better than the tier 3. It'll still be worth it to upgrade into the full mystical mail, but this will give you just a little bit of a taste.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's one of the several options we've talked about thus far that gives you that a little better clear if traditionally you do not clear that well, which can open up a whole world to you. You know, if you're
Exactly. A
clearing
lot more
better.
gods can be played in a lot more positions when you start to do this type of stuff.
Yeah, that's really, really fun. So next up, we have the word new one more time, and that's bronze mail.
Yes, bronze mail, the other side of the tree here, built into sovereignty, Midgard, and Emperor's armor. And as you know, we like to do a little bit of combining here in terms of effects when it comes to
for sure.
the kinds of things that you upgrade into. So Midgard's kind of anti-attack speed, anti-basic attacker, kind of a similar idea with Emperor's armor when it comes to, you know, the ability
Protecting
to
your towers, yeah.
protect your towers. Similar idea, but a little bit different because you're getting sustain from sovereignty. So instead of getting sustain, you're getting a shield. And when are you getting those shields? When you get basic attacked. So getting hit by every 4th basic attack you're damaged by grants 75 health shield that lasts for 5 seconds or until it is destroyed. These shields don't stack, they refresh.
Yep.
So you can't just keep gaining shield. It'll only ever be up to 75 health. And then of course, checking out the stats here, it is 1250 gold for 20 physical prots and 150 health.
Really cool too, because a lot of effects are based on how often you're hitting somebody.
Yeah.
But to see the every 4 hits, every time you get hit for the 4th time, you get a benefit. It's kind of cool because it incentivizes getting in their face, trying to block the attacks, and then gives you in segments more health to survive, being that wall, being that shield. So what a cool effect, man. I love Guardian stuff. So next up, we have Cloak of Concentration.
Yep, this is the last tier 2 that we're seeing any real big change to. This is over in the cloak tree, of course. And we are doing a bit of adjustments here. It's gaining a passive that when you are hit by a hard crowd control, steal 10 protections from all enemy gods within 20 units for 5 seconds with an internal cooldown of 5 seconds.
Yeah, stealing is the key
Yes.
word there. So you're taking the protections from them, everybody around you, and giving them to yourself. So if you had 5 enemies around you, that's a lot of protections, for you, and taking 10 from everybody around you. So really, really efficient. Again, if you're getting in the middle of people in your arena games or just in a big team fight in Conquest, if you get hit by that hard CC, let's say you're a frontliner that would buy this item, you're diving in and immediately you get CC'd as soon as you're in amongst 5 people, boom, that's 50-50 protections, and they're all losing protections for your team to come in and kill them. So a fun item to play around again.
For sure. And one of those too where, you know, as a frontliner, as some kind of guardian, you're like, all right, I know for a fact if I dive directly at them, they're going to CC me on reaction. And you feel, you know, it's big brain play. It's Kepri brain play. Because you're like, you've CC'd me in the middle of your team. That's what I wanted to happen.
And again, it's thematic to the tier 3s that it builds into. Obviously, Spirit Road procs in the same way. And then in your Mantle of Discord, you're also doing this area of effect, but it's a stun this time. So again, you get the taste of both, and you kind of just choose which one you want to go into from there. Or you can hold on to it for a while too.
And that's the last thing we have to talk about here, actually, is Mantle of Discord just joining in the fire sale.
Yeah, once upon a time, this item was one of the best items.
Everyone
in the
would buy
game,
it,
if
yeah.
not the best item in the game. And that mantra has fallen off quite a bit in recent times as you know, other defensive items have been added into the game, other effects have gotten stronger, it's gotten slightly weaker, so we were just bringing the price down a hair, about 100 gold, so it's going to feel a little bit nicer to buy into, have that extra mantle stun if you need it to get away.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so we've done it. We've talked about the items.
Woo.
A lot of items.
That was a lot. So tier 2's really getting shaken up, though. So J-Pack, thank you for guiding us through all of
thank you,
course
J-Pack.
as well, and knowing the trees that well. I'd have been up there typing in things, and people would have had to suffer through seeing me not know how to type words. So good stuff. So there's obviously a little more balance to talk about. We have some gods we want to get into in a little bit. But let's take a breather from the balance for a sec and check out some of the other content coming to the mid-season update, starting with the Doom Circuit Cross-Gen Pass. So for those familiar, we have a new Cross-Gen Pass every single update. And these are things that provide cross-gen skins for Smite 2. So if you want to, there's a free track obviously, but if you want to buy in, earn the levels throughout the update, get a bunch of beautiful cosmetics for Smite 1 and then some cross-gen Smite 2 skins as well, which are always fun to look at. So let's start by looking at the first of them, which is Ceramic Circuit Collie.
Ceramic. Oh, yeah,
Oh.
ceramic.
Yep,
Ceramic,
ceramic is indeed that material.
Not quite as nice looking as the who was that? Discordia ceramic skin, I think.
Yeah,
It's
the-
very polished,
Yeah.
prim proper. This is a bit more
Battle
She has
worn.
blood on her
airy.
face. Yeah. Less
What
polished.
kind of event is she crashing in on here? My goodness.
I don't know. It's
A wedding, yeah.
yeah, a wedding, a gala maybe. They have like the stacked wine glasses or whatever, so you know it's a fancy event. Like, but yeah, I mean, what else is to be said? She's horrifying and made of porcelain.
Oh,
Wow, yeah,
okay.
very shiny.
Whoa, yeah, that like glows.
look at the textile too. You can see all of that like energy coursing through the circuitry. I like the like transparent
The floating
level of the
arms.
material too.
Yeah.
Oh, and the arms, dude! I didn't even notice that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Man, whoa.
Yeah, what a unique presentation for a four-armed character to have just the two kind of floating back there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I just can't get over like the immediate transition to wow, that thing is shining. So Kali looking really good here. Let's check out the Smite 2 render for this one.
Yeah, if it was shiny in Smite 1, it's gonna be
Yeah,
shiny in
I
Smite
bet.
2 even more.
Well, the textures on the weapon actually is what really stands out to me. You get the
Yeah.
highs and the lows of like those
Like
dark
the
bits.
engraved.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, the engravings. Super, super cool.
Awesome.
Love how like shiny it is.
I
It's just
agree.
so cool.
I agree. Yeah, I'm a fan of shiny. I don't know. It's just because I have the brain of a pelican.
Shiny.
So to move on in the Doom Circuit Cross Gen Pass, we have Nanomancer Baron Somdi.
This team is so cool.
It says, "Look
Yeah,
at this
always
smile."
like this.
So good.
It's just really creepy.
I love when smiling, which is generally, a happy, a joyous, a wonderful. I love when you can find a way to make it that
Evil,
threatening. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
don't
just-
want to go up against that Baron, let me just say.
No, I think
Oh, and
the
is that
red
his
piercing
coffin?
eyes.
Oh,
Oh,
he is
yeah, I
coming out
guess
of his
it would
coffin,
be.
That's so cool.
Swirling void inside the coffin.
Yeah, you do not want to get ulted in there. That's not the life of the party, I think.
Yeah,
I
you
think
end
you're
up
lying to
going-
me.
You end up going where he came from. Okay, that's so cool.
Dude. Oh, I love the jacket.
Look at how happy that.
Oh, I see. So styling. Isn't he supposed to be a scary robot?
Baron's always styling.
Bro,
Doesn't
someone
matter.
steal his look.
Like, look at that do as well. Like, my boy.
Bit of
That's
rock
just
star
Baron.
here, yeah.
Like, no matter what form he takes, no matter if he's a cartoon skeleton or a scary robot from alternate red dimension, like, he is always styling on him.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the Baron way. It's one of the things I love about him the most, I think. I also love the skull on top of the staff, by the way. Can we shout out how high definition that looks? Like, it's just a really well-made skull. Yeah, we gotta wait for that, like, the pan. Like, look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's check this out in Smite 2 real quick.
Again with the metals.
Right?
Yeah.
We're always shouting out the textures, and really, that plus the lighting is what
Such a
stands out
huge
the
level
most
up,
here.
yeah. Yeah, look
Yeah.
at the lighting from the sneak as well.
Yeah, that's what I was
Can
gonna say.
Imagine that in game, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see kind of the lights coming out of the rib cage as well. I just love how like grounded it feels because you can see the effect that the snake has on like that left side of his clothes as well, where the light is coming from the snake.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's so
yeah,
sick.
super cool.
I'm constantly drawn to the big red eyes on both the skull and on his head with no eyelids to like short, like you get the full circle of the eye. Very threatening to me for some reason. Like
Yeah,
being
what
that
is it
specific
with the
color.
eyes this patch, guys? What's going on?
That's true. We gotta talk to our design team. We need some eyes on them. Make sure they're okay, especially after that Kepri. Man. All right, well, let's not go back there. Let's just say that this is the Doom Circuit Cross Gen Pass. You can look forward to this one in the next update, which is next Tuesday. It's always still crazy to say that. It's been that way for a long time now, but like everything is relative, time flies, and it still feels weird to say, yeah, it's only 5 days away. Like the update's right around the corner. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this one I'm really excited about this one. This one's fun. I love
fun
when
event,
we do
yeah.
stuff like this. We have the Summer Sizzle event. So the Summer Sizzle event is similar to events of the past you may have seen. There's going to be a variety of cosmetics, skins, and other cosmetics throughout the event. And obtaining at least 3 items from the event, from the Summer Sizzle event, will net you a Danzaburou skin, which we will talk about in just a second. We're not gonna jump this one. We're gonna get there in just a second. So we've had events like this in the past. I'm sure you're similar, but this one has some really fun skins that I'm excited to talk about. And the first is the Mighty Mutt Fenrir.
I just gotta.
Oh my god.
I just gotta stop for a second,
What a
just
boy.
absorb what we're looking at here.
Playing fetch.
That's Tyr's hand.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, but he's such a good boy.
He's so cute.
With his big bulbous eyes. Here we are with the eyes
Yeah.
again. Okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that
Oh,
is
that's
that's
just-
an interesting take on a scary dog.
It
Different
says
kind of
Fen
scary.
Pug on the dog tag.
It's
Oh.
it's Finn Pug.
Fenrir has such like unique proportions as well, with like his lower half being smaller, so it looks really funny on this skin.
Yeah.
With the huge head too.
Yeah, you might think like, oh, forced perspective, but
Oh my
Nope.
god, and he's drooling.
Yeah.
You know what vibe it gives me? You remember the live action Scooby Doo when Scrappy like got mid transformation and stopped? That's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of the vibe I get from
oh
it.
wow. I love the flame collar though, straight from Flavortown. That
Yeah,
one.
he's styling for sure.
He is.
That is
And-
one proper pup.
Every time he gets in the face, like there's
Drool.
potential
So
for it
much
to be
drool.
threatening. But then you see the face and the eyes.
Does Fenrir drool like that naturally, or is that just for the skin?
I think that's just the skin. I think this is new.
His little curly cute tail.
Extra details.
Aw, so
Oh,
cute.
what a little man.
I just want to pet his little face.
Well.
I feel like he bites.
Yeah.
We saw how he was.
Ill
doing with the
advised, I
hand.
think.
Yeah. Let's look at the Smite 2 render for this guy.
Oh.
Aww.
Why does he look so much sillier?
Let's say he
I
looks so much more innocent now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not as menacing.
Like what a threatening pose for what an adorable face.
Yeah, yeah.
I do really like the upgrades to the fur texture here. It really looks like he's got hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Oh.
like around the mouth as well, that skin texture is really good there
Yeah,
too.
the folds and the wrinkles.
Yeah.
Imagine the drool in Smite 2.
Oh, gosh.
High fidelity drool.
High fidelity drool.
Yeah. So
That's
just
what we've wanted.
wait for that. Yeah, it's what you've been asking for. All right. So next up, here's one that I'm sure that y'all will enjoy. I mean, I'm not gonna premise this one. We're just gonna Goth Gore Morgan. There's
Oh.
what more can I say?
You know, I haven't
I
seen
must
this
not
art
speak.
before.
You haven't?
I haven't seen the art before. But
Name yourself, me in the bottom right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I have.
you know, I think the art team knew what they were doing with this one. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
They knew. They knew
I
for
think
sure.
I think that there was a mighty inspiration and it flowed through them to create art.
Yeah, what an interesting theme as well. A waitress, but a goth waitress specifically.
Yeah, I would shout out to a restaurant. Man,
The goth griddle.
yeah. I just so many words and so few that are going to be said. This is a good skin. I'm excited for this because goth.
She's so pretty.
I was trying to think if like the guy in the bottom right was any of the other skins, because we see that a lot in like the card art where like
Yeah.
it calls it.
We do.
And the only
We do.
ones that came to mind were like maybe an Apollo or a Mercury. 'Cause they have
Oh.
skins
That too.
kind of like
you know,
that, but I,
Yeah.
I
don't
could
know
see
if that's
them
either of them.
finding themselves in a situation like this. You know, that
Yeah.
seems about right.
Well, there's Raw just above his head there. I'm pretty sure anyway. All right. Well, cool. Yeah, let's see her in game.
Oh,
Nice.
dude, she's styling.
She is styling. Look at that makeup
Off
too.
griddle.
Oh, look at
Got
the
the
pins.
notepad.
Shing Chen Burger Chef Vulcan pins, dude. She knows her Smite lore. My God.
She does. She's caught up on it. So, looking absolutely fierce. She's got it all. Let's check this one out. Let's
We
dive
have to,
in for
please,
it.
dude. This is a
Take the
cool
spatula.
skin.
The big old.
Yeah, it's huge.
so-
I don't think I've ever seen a spatula that big before.
Yeah, it looks almost like a rake. Like it's rake sized. I need to buy
Big
one
pancakes.
of those now.
Yeah, big pancakes apparently. All right, let's see those effects. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
let's check it out.
Excuse me.
Again, it's one of those where I'm like, what more
Goth
can
colors,
I say?
yeah.
The pinks are so fun.
They are
Just
very
a
fun.
sec.
Pink is such a good color.
Two is better than one.
Or 3 if you use the first one.
Yeah, true. Or 3.
We're up to 4. This is a dangerous game we're playing.
You know what?
Time for today's special.
That doesn't look like a goth way.
Yeah. Let's go
That looks
back.
like
Let's go
Odin.
back.
This isn't as entertaining. We need to go back.
But no, a really cool
The
skin.
effects
And
are
yeah,
cool,
again,
yeah.
I love I like that the effects kind of match the aesthetic of the skin itself, but also the hair a little bit. You know, just you got that pink for the highlighting. So, a really cool skin, very thematic. That's one of the things I love about this company, man. Is like they'll see something and be like, that's a fun idea. We should move forward with that.
Yeah. And
And-
well executed as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like our team knows how to have fun.
The
Man, I love it.
fashion as well.
Yeah,
just
I
so
love the
fun.
people I work with. This is a cool place, man. All right, so that is one of the other skins in the Summer Sizzle event, but there is one more. What is summertime without a little bit of a party? And we'll see that after we see the Smite 2 render. I was holding out on y'all. I was
Hey,
yeah.
there we go. I don't know what to say again other than like
No,
the
yeah,
textures just
Yeah,
feel
it's just
so,
such a level up every time. It's
so
crazy.
good. You
Yeah.
can see like the individual straws in the pocket as well.
Right.
The shine of each individual link on the chains.
Yeah, the material of the
Yeah.
apron, like
such a level of detail that like it's crazy to imagine. Like I played Smite back in 2012, and now we're here in 2024 where we're getting this level of detail from the same game. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my earlier Smite play was probably closer to the 2014 times, but even still, you know, like you see a game and you're like, wow, what an incredible game, and then 10 years later, moving on to the second game, moving into a new, it's just, I don't know. Count the ways that you can point out what a journey it's been.
I can't wait to see how the animations and the FX have leveled up as well, because you already know that's going to look really cool.
All right, so I teased this one a little earlier while I was playing up the Smite 2 render. It's party time. It's summertime. It's party Animal Danzaburou.
Yeah.
My boy.
Oh my goodness.
Danzaburou in flip-flops. Like, what?
It's so small too. It's
They are so small.
I just love this theme. Just a completely different animal as well. He's like a little fox guy.
True.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Obviously, he's the life of the party, though, because, like, homeboy in the back left has his head on a shirt. So, like, is he supposed to be, like, and you see his name on stage, so he jumped off the stage.
Might be famous.
Yeah, to hype up the crowd before going to put a show on.
It does look like he's having a lot of fun, though.
Yeah. Are those fingerless gloves? Is my boy rocking?
Of course.
Fingerless gloves. He's got the shader shades
Stutter
on as well.
shades,
The
yeah.
stutter
Yeah.
shades.
I don't know how they're staying on, but they're staying on.
When you're
Sheer
magical,
force of party.
sheer force of party. Yeah, or he spilled a drink on them. They're a little sticky. So
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
look
look
at
at
the
that
gun.
weapon.
Air Blaster 2000, I think.
Oh, dude, he's so cute.
He is. I love his little backpack.
That is
my boy's
adorable.
prepared for the party.
He's got a little ticket on the back there. Yeah, he's ready.
Oh, dude, that looks like the SWC.
Oh, that's really cool.
Got mine
That's
like
so
That's a great
fun.
ad.
office.
Yeah.
Bro, that's really cool.
Yeah, dude.
I just
That's
love
so sick.
Danzaburou too. Like, what a character.
He's just such a happy little guy, and I feel like this vibe fits him perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always needed leopard pants, honestly. So let's
Must be
check
something
this
cool
one
with
out
the
in
ultimate. Yeah, can we see it in game?
game. Oh yeah, there's a
perfect.
couple
Oh, there he
pairings
is.
for this one.
Yep, that is a really cool weapon, dude.
That is a really cool weapon.
Take a look at the badge. Oh, QR code.
Oh,
Oh,
all access. Yeah.
What does it? What does? I don't. Does that lead to something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
That'll
Maybe
be.
it does.
Tweet at me if you figure that out. I hadn't thought to try that.
Dude, that's awesome. All right, we gotta see these effects.
Little guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the
Disco
disco
balls.
balls. Yeah.
Oh, and the coins are disco balls.
Oh, that
Pick
is
'em up,
so
J-Mac.
cool.
Hey.
That'll be a lot
Yeah.
harder to miss. I feel like I'm always like I didn't see it.
Oh my god, it's a little dance floor.
It is.
I kind of want to stand on that now.
Pineapple.
Enemies you should not get in that.
It looks kind of okay.
That is
Oh,
so
cool.
cool.
cool. The lights,
Oh, and he
What
turns
is
into little tickets.
Oh, they're tickets.
VIP
Oh, VIP
passes.
tickets. Okay.
the dance floor with the
Man.
lights shooting up in the air is so.
Yeah, this is so sick. Okay. Ult.
Oh,
Oh my god.
It's the party.
Battle bus.
Hop on. Oh my god.
Look, he's hanging out the side
Oh,
of it.
yeah, I
Oh
see
my
the left
god.
there.
Okay, do it again. Hop
He's
in.
got the lead, dude.
That's. Oh, so he's only. Okay, that's really sick.
Oh, that's
That
smart.
is
Yeah.
so awesome.
That's so cool, dude. Yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
All right, let's see. I've heard tell that there's a VXG we should see with this one
Ooh,
as well.
please.
Oh,
my god.
My
dancing.
boy.
Oh my god.
On the dance floor as well.
That's so good. That is
Floor
so,
moves with you. That's
what a
really cool.
effect. Yeah, that
That's like the
floor
whole
changes.
floor has already been patterned out for it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
And he's
Maybe-
taking advantage. Look at
That's
him go.
that's a glimpse of what he sees. That's just like opening a portal into his eyes, you know.
Gotta see how he sees it.
Oh, he's so happy. Look at him.
Dude, he's breaking it
Oh
down.
my
Oh,
God,
the
the
glass is almost
glasses.
coming off.
Yeah, I like how they're like jumping around a little bit. Oh man.
That's adorable.
Dude, Danza's like make a bad skin for Danza challenge. Impossible. with the
Impossible.
people working at our company.
This is peak.
This is so.
This has made my week, made my month, honestly.
Yeah, like if there were the bad vibes from Brain Kepri are being cleansed away right now.
What do you mean? Those were excellent vibes.
It was a great skin. It made me scared and uncomfortable.
Listen, that's the point.
I mean,
As
yeah,
someone
it
whose
did a
dog
good
is named Kepri, I was a little terrified for him.
Oh man!
Oh,
All right,
God, I
well
can't
this
get
is
over this.
powerful stuff. The last skin of the Summer Sizzle event, and of course, we have to see that Smite 2 render. You know,
Yeah.
we can't not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at him,
Look at them
dude.
pants.
I just love how fluffy the jacket looks too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Just the different levels of fluff, the fluffiness.
And I mean, obviously, we say this about a lot of these skins, right? But like, look, all those dance effects you just saw, all the lights, the disco balls, that bust.
Those
Can
are
only
look
imagine.
incredible.
Those in Smite 2 are gonna be crazy. Like, you know how sometimes you're playing, I don't know, Assault or something, you're trying to do a jump party, but then there's always the stinker that's like, nah, dude, I'm here to fight. Like, it will be impossible to deny a jump/dance party when you have this Danza throwing it down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, with his 2 as well, you can force people to dance with you anyway, so you can get them in that circle and throw the dance floor on top of them. So they're dancing whether they like it or not.
All right, I'm getting word from the inside from Billy, and he's saying the chat figured it out. You want to know where that QR code goes?
I'd love to know.
Smite.com.
Oh,
Dang.
It literally actually works. It goes to the website.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah,
so awesome.
Thank y'all for figuring that out, chat. That's good stuff.
Well done.
Man, and shout out to our designers for being like,
must
yeah,
have
we
been
can put a
quick,
QR
huh?
code. Yeah.
Whipped out the phone straight away.
Yeah. So y'all are the goats. That's why I love y'all. Okay, cool. That was the Summer Sizzle event. Yeah, and again, that'll come with the next update. Danzaburou skin, as long as you get 3 other things from the event, you will receive that skin as well, and the party will be in your hands. So carry that with honor. It's like being knighted. You're the party. So now we've talked about some cool new cosmetics. Let's dive back into Balance Land one more time to talk about some gods. How about it, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all ready? All right, let's do it. So let's call this regular god balance because
Yep.
there's some,
Yeah.
some other stuff. So under regular god balance, let's kick it off with Vulcan. What's going on with Vulcan?
So to kind of preamble Vulcan a little bit.
Please.
Before we even talk
Preamble.
about Vulcan, we've been feeling like the game has been feeling very solid across the board. We've been getting a lot of feedback in terms of the new items. Not so much that things are too crazy in really any direction. The only character that we felt like we have been really united on and seeing a lot of discussion about since bonus bounce especially is Vulcan.
Yes.
And that is why we've got Vulcan on our list here. He is the only character that will be receiving a nerf in this patch. Everybody else getting some buffs. You love to see buffs, but
Sorry,
let's
Vulcan
talk
players.
about Vulcan.
All right.
So, why is Vulcan even on this list? Well, in the last patch, we were giving his Inferno Cannon the ability to proc ability item effects, and that certainly did help him out quite a lot.
Yes.
We
very
did see
successful.
his popularity go up a ton, which
Which is
is
good.
always awesome. We
Yeah,
love to see that.
yep.
But his win rate also spiked up quite a bit as well. So we're taking down the backfire cooldown, or rather pushing it up to make you have it less often. Same idea with Inferno Cannon, and then we're also taking down the damage in the late game. Specifically the late game,
Yes.
because early game, you're not having any
The
of
proc
those proc
items,
items, so
right.
really that didn't affect it at all. But we want to make sure that when you're proccing the items, you're getting a little bit less damage across the board.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Simple as that.
Yeah, sorry, Vulcan players. All
Had to
right.
happen.
So next up, Cupid, little dude.
Oh, Cupid. So you'll see we kind of have these bunched into a couple of categories here. We're in our hunter category
All right.
of some either low performing, low popularity, kind of any of those combinations
Yes.
of characters. Cupid is amongst them. And what you'll see here is we'll just talk about what we do first, and we'll talk about why. So what we're doing is we are increasing his basic attack power from 32 to 38. So that's what you get at level 1. And then per level, we're increasing from 2.3 to 2.5. He was just on the very low end of things.
Very
and as
low
a
end, yeah.
character with not very many abilities that do damage, you do have to rely on your basic attacks for a lot of that heavy lifting, and he just wasn't comparing to other characters that had a similar number of abilities that deal damage. So that's step number 1. Let's talk about number 2, which is Heart Bomb. Mana cost going down, very simple. Not by a lot, but just enough so you can feel it, not have to worry too much about making sure that your support or whatever lane, arena,
Picks up your
assault
things, yeah.
is picking up your heart. Not a big deal for him in the early game, especially. Going to be very nice. But Flutter, this is the big change.
The fun one. Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah, so Flutter, when you level up this ability, you get passive attack speed. But as many long tenured players will remember, Cupid once upon a time had that attack speed
After he dashed.
when he dashed, yes. So after a dash. So now, instead of just getting a little bit of attack speed, you're going to get that doubled when you dash for the next 4 seconds.
Yep. So putting points in it, you get the passive attack speed, which already goes up to, is it 20%? Something like that? I
It's
can't
lower
remember
than 20%,
exactly.
yeah.
Maybe it's like 15%. But now it doubles when you use that dash. So if you're dashing in, you're really committing to the team fight. You're getting that extra DPS. And remember, we have buffed his auto attack damage as well. So again, just a lot more damage on Cupid when you commit to the team fight.
One thing that we've noticed with Cupid is that he tends to kind of jump in and out of the meta when we touch his ultimate specifically, because again, that ultimate very, very strong.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that the base kit is feeling really potent as well, and it just was not up to our standards for the last couple of patches, so we're bumping him up.
Bumping him up.
Little
Cool
bit.
stuff for Cupid. So next up on the Hunter block, we have Danzaburou, somebody recently on our minds from the party.
Yes, well, he is going to be partying quite a lot here, and honestly, he has been doing okay, but
Yeah, not
very,
bad.
very underpicked.
Yeah, very low in terms of popularity. So just even when he was picked, there's some great Danzaburou players that have a lot of success, but the average player wasn't having too much success with the god, and then the average player wasn't even picking the god too often. So just buffing him across the board is trying to solve this issue.
Yeah, just a couple of small buffs across the board. So first thing we're changing is Fool's Gold, which is getting increased damage. So that's just when you hit someone with a bag, and then also getting a slight amount of increased explosion damage. Moving on to Alluring Spirits, which is of course the taunt. It's getting increased healing because you're taking a long time to take this drink. You want to make sure that you're feeling worth it to have to go all the way back and then throw it out.
Animation, yeah.
Yep. Before it was just not healing enough to really feel worth it to be stuck in that animation for so long. So we're bumping the healing more so in the late game than in the early game. And then we're also taking the cooldown down, not in the late game, but in the early game specifically. So a little bit more potential for you to get moving in the early game. Not so much in the late game, but it is going to be healing you for more in the late game. So you're not going to feel as bad about going for that drink. Finally, Uproarious Rocket. This is his ultimate. The explosion damage in the radius around the target that you hit or the wall or whatever you run into is now going to be taking 75% of the damage of the initial hit versus 50% previously. So it's going to feel a little bit more effective in an area versus so focused on the damage in the single target.
That's right. Instead of just like, if you're just picking off a backline, or if that backline is grouped with another one of the backlines, say the mage and the hunter are together, you're going to damage them both for quite a bit more now. So get in there with that bus or whatever it was and drive into the hunter. You'll also hit the mage for a good amount of damage.
Yeah, I would say some would say it would feel like you're getting hit by a bus a little more now.
You could say that.
Yeah, you jumped right in there. So the next hunter in line is Apollo, our handsome musical man.
Yep, so Apollo is probably the most average on our list here, where he does okay, but he's never really all that good in a lot of the matchups that he finds himself in. He just does okay basically everywhere. And that's fine for a lot of characters, but we want to kind of make sure that different characters are having their time in the sun, right? And so Apollo has been out of it for quite a long time. So we're bringing down the mana cost on So Beautiful from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80. So just a nice little touch there.
Yeah.
Serenade getting a decreased cooldown from 17 to 13 down to 15 to 13. So a nice 2 seconds in the early game to get a little bit more active. Mana cost also going down by 15, which is going to feel very nice, especially because you have to spend a lot of mana to go across the sky in your chariot. So you want to make sure that you have the mana for that. And then this is probably the biggest one on this list.
My favorite, yeah.
Which is the moves. This is his dash. The buff duration of the movement speed that you gain is going up from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. So more movement speed for you, your allies
And
too,
your
if you
allies,
dash through them.
That's right. Yeah, really, I just want to encourage Apollo players to be able to dash around their around their allies to share that movement speed. You can even dash through your wave and give your whole wave that movement speed for 5 seconds, so you can get your wave moving along, so you can siege your
Maybe
tower
zoom in.
quicker. Yep. So I think this is a fun one. 5 seconds is quite a long time for a good movement speed increase.
It is, for sure. So, and I mean, several times have we talked about the importance of movement speed thus
Yes.
far. So now we're kind of out of the hunter block and moving into a bit more of a mage block, I'd say,
Yeah.
starting with Baron.
Yeah, Baron is an interesting character because, again, he's just fine. If you want to play him tank, you can play him tank. If you want to play a mage, you can play a mage. But both of them, he just sits kind of in the middle, doesn't do either particularly amazing. So what we're doing is we're kind of putting him a little bit more in line in both of those areas at once. And it's not going too crazy in either direction, but one place that we're starting is his base health, which just was not comparable to other kind
Not
of
even
more
close. Yeah.
bruisery type characters like Nox or Aphrodite or even Chang'e, the kind of characters that need to be in the middle of things, or the characters that do have some sustain, do have some safety, but not the most, right? Baron has a conditional movement speed increase, and he's got some CC, right? But just not the safest character really at all. So he's getting comparable health, not quite matching those other characters, but a little bit closer, which is going to help him out a lot.
That's right, yeah. And as well, we talked about, how he can play multiple play styles, and he does damage, he's tanky, he has utility. We're buffing his damage just a little bit with Vivid Gaze, so when you hit that crossover point, it does that extra bit of damage, so 10% more than what it was before. Instead of 15%, up to 25%. Actually a decent chunk. If you're hitting all those archers, for example, will help you clear a lot. Or if you just hit a god, that's a good amount of poke.
Yep. Feeling pretty nice about that. And finally for Baron, this one's going to look a little bit weird, but we'll kind of break down why this looks the way that it does. So wrap it up. This ability is a slow to root, but essentially what we're doing here is we're decreasing the duration of the slow and increasing the duration of the root. So what that means is that they're spending less time slowed, that slow is ramping up faster, and then they're rooted for longer afterward, which is pretty important considering, especially since we changed the way that roots interact with DR over the past year. Baron doesn't super DR himself very well. You can
Often, yeah.
through the ultimate, but that doesn't happen too much. So this is just really important for your interaction with your own teammates as well. But it is going to help him have more consistent ability to be having that set up for himself or his teammates.
Yeah, so we're just putting more weight on the hard CC, taking away some from the soft CC.
Yep.
I think the root is really valuable, like Lormy said, for your allies as well. It can be kind of hard to hit a god when they're only CC'd for 0.75 of a second, but surprisingly 1 second makes it a lot easier. So just hitting that 1 second point for that root, and again, it can be DR'd if they've already been hard CC'd by something else. But yeah, just shifting some from the soft CC onto the hard CC, which is inherently stronger. So this is a buff.
Yes.
Yeah, overall. And I mean, that combos really well with Vivid Gaze and trying to hit that cross
Exactly,
point.
yep.
A lot of other things. So yeah, definitely a buff. So you're eating, Baron players. So continuing down the mage line, Poseidon, our boy from the water.
Yeah, Poseidon is a classic character, right? But he's just been kind of MIA.
Yes.
He has okay popularity because he's
On
just
the
a very
death screen all the time,
recognizable,
that's why.
a very recognizable character. But again, yeah, like Rose said, he does die quite a lot.
Yeah.
But we were thinking of some interesting, fun ways to give him a little bit of a buff. So what we're doing here is we're increasing his base attack speed to help him build up some of that tide meter from 0.87 to 0.95, still the same amount of scaling. But we're also giving some extra attack speed to Trident.
Yes.
So a little bit more playing around that tide meter, getting it more often with your Trident as well, and your basic attacks is going to feel really, really nice. Helps you keep that movement speed, get a little bit safer, and be able to get that extra bit of damage off just a little bit more consistently. But that's not all. We've got more, folks. Up next, we've got Whirlpool as well, which is, of course, the iconic 3. But this ability has kind of felt very lackluster, even with, Gem of Isolation coming a little bit back in.
timing
I've been
change.
seeing it. Yeah, the timing change with this as well has made it a little bit better. Not too crazy, though. So we're bringing up that tick damage scaling from 15 to 20. And then, of course, the iconic, the amazing, the Kraken.
The Kraken.
He's being released a little bit stronger, but in the center.
Center, yeah.
The more accurate you are with it, the more damage you're doing. Previously, it was identical between
Yep.
the center and the outside, but now the center is going to be doing a bit more damage, and you're getting the
On
knockup.
top of the stun, yep.
And you're getting the stun. It's going to feel real nice for those very accurate, skilled Poseidon players.
Yeah, so you've got your consistent damage from these attack speed buffs. Maybe you can even build some rings if you want with some of the new tier 2s
yeah.
we've put in there. But then, again, you've got more. So when you hit your combo, get them stuck in your 3, a little bit more scaling from that. And you can really hit the center of your ult, then a lot more scaling. That's 55% extra damage right in the middle. It's a lot.
Yeah, it really is. So for those of you who are good at the Whirlpool to center of ult combo, please stop. Scylla up next on our mage list.
Yeah, Scylla's another interesting character because she is very popular. People love Scylla, myself
great.
included. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Scylla enjoyer.
Oh, I know.
But when I see her win rate, oh my god, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
So, what we're doing here for Scylla is that we are decreasing the mana cost from Sikkim, which 100 mana for an ultimate. It's just kind of insane
was a lot.
in the
Yeah.
current ages of Smite. So we're bringing it down on that regular ability from 60 to 100 to now 60 to 80. Crush as well is getting an increase, a very slight increase, 10% to minions in that damage as well. Going to help out with that clear, especially in the jungle. Going to feel very nice for in lane. And then finally we've got a buff here to Sentinel, which is her 3, her escape. Which is getting a slight change here. And this may look a little bit strange because Scylla's passive kind of gives her unique
Whole theme,
unlocked effects when it comes to getting your ability ranked up. So you still do get the increased ward range from Sentinel when you rank it up to level 5, which is very nice, don't get me wrong. But the one thing that has felt very weird for those Scylla players is that you only go a little bit further when you rank it up, which has just felt very weird, very strange for the feels of this ability
Right.
too. So we felt like we could safely move it up that 5 units for all ranks to really kind of unite that feeling and not have this very slight discrepancy between ranks 1 through 4 and rank
Yeah,
5.
I think this makes it a lot more intuitive as well. Because you let's say you just finished playing a Scylla game where you were level 20 for like 10 minutes and you're used to the walls that you can jump over because of that extra 5 units at rank 5.
Yeah.
And then you get into a new game and like, oh, I can't jump over this wall anymore. It just wasn't intuitive. So now the distance is the same at all ranks, but yes, you still get the extra vision, which is a lot of vision
Yes,
at
it's
a
a
rank
very
5.
big range. And then, of course, we're also increasing the MP5 to help a little bit with
A little
their
bit, yep.
extra mana sustain in the early game.
That's right. Yeah, in general, she had some struggles in the early game. But with that 10% increased damage on minions, so that is including the jungle camps as well, she should be able to clear a little bit better in the early game, and then you'll have more mana to do that.
And it's very important to note that a lot of these changes are not PvP oriented.
Yes,
We understand that she
already
is
strong PvP.
very good damage-wise. That's not the goal of these changes. The goal is to make the actual experience of playing her just a little bit smoother, just a little bit more consistent across the board.
Yeah, just general overall polish. Nothing wrong with that. So Freya will be next on our list of mages getting a bit of tuning.
Yeah, so Freya, we did in patch 11.5, we did a couple buffs across the board to some of these
items.
Items for magical ADCs, but Freya was still the one that seemed to be lagging behind out of the rest.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised it was Freya, but that's just how it is with her. So what we looked at was that her base health was lagging significantly behind even characters like Olorun, who has some built-in sustain. Freya does have a little bit as well, but it's more lifesteal versus direct healing, which does take a little bit of extra steps, you might say, for the Freya player. So we are just bringing her a little bit closer in line from 567 base to 610. That's not addressing the scaling at all because that's not changing. And then the only other thing that we're changing here is the banish cooldown from 19 to 15 to 16 to 14. So a lot off at the top, but only a little bit off at the bottom.
Yeah, generally a pretty hard to hit ability if you're new to Freya as well, so having more chances to hit it was really important. And I just want to encourage people to actually try to use that ability whenever possible, because your teammate can capitalize on it very easily, but when it's a 19-second cooldown, you're like, oh, I have to wait for the perfect moment, otherwise if I miss it, it's on a cooldown for 19 seconds. So 16 helping quite a bit. Obviously it was down to 15 in the late game before, which is already pretty good. We need to buff it just a little bit, so 16 to 14, not much of a difference late game, but in the early game you really feel that
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing it to other mage abilities that sit up at that 19 seconds, like the next closest one is like Merlin Flicker.
Yeah.
This ability is not like comparable in that same way. So it needed to come down quite a bit. Just a lot of extra setup for herself, safety, which is going to feel really nice. But again, Freya, another character that we understand has very, very sensitive damage ratios, so we don't want to mess with those. We feel like those are fine. It's really just the safety and the utility of this character that need a little bit of help.
Yeah,
Hold on. Yep.
A nice healthy buff without making her hyper threatening. So last but not least, in the mage circle, we have Hel.
Yes, so this is another character that is very sensitive to those kind of changes.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that we noticed is that when we changed healing last year, this was around, I want to say 10.3, 10.4 or so, around that time period, the healers were very, very strong. And then we kind of took them back a little bit, got them more in line, but that heal remained very, very low ever since.
It did,
and one thing that we have noticed from our healing players, there are a lot of players that really like to specialize in these healing characters
Support style,
and have this like support style mage, is that healing has just kind of felt very low for these characters, and that identity that they really, really enjoy is kind of missing.
That's right.
So we want to be very careful with this adjustment, of course, because healing, again, is very, very strong when used in these kind of, methods. So again, it's still lower than it was previously, but it's getting a nice bump in the direction that we are, hoping that will be a little bit more identifiable for players. So it's getting a bump in the base of the heal and also the per level, very, very small bump per level, but it will, you'll feel it over time.
Yep.
And then the self-heal is also going up as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually I want to touch on something for increased healing, because there's a couple others in this patch as well. Just keep in mind that we're making some anti-heal items more viable in the early game with a couple tier 2 items that have anti-heal on them as well. So there'll be more, but yeah, we can move on to switch stances now. So before, Hel had to be, this kind of could be this kind of support pick, but you'd have to be within 30 units of your allies, which is actually really close.
Attack.
Yeah,
very, very close.
55 is your average basic attack, so just for reference. So we're changing it to 55, so if you're within a basic attack range of your allies, they'll now get that effect of that, I think it's protections of power.
Yeah.
And then now, well, previously, physical gods were not getting any of that power. It was just magical power. So we're adding physical power. Obviously, Hel doesn't get the physical power herself. She wouldn't use it for anything anyway. But the allied gods around you will get that physical power. So you can, when you're playing with your hunter in the duel lane, they'll actually feel something rather than them getting this, what was kind of useless magical power.
Yeah. Really cool changes, and helping diversify the age you can offer to your team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're moving out of the mage sphere now and into a sharper and more dangerous sphere, the assassins. Well, maybe not more dangerous, but definitely sharper. So we have assassins here, and we have Fenrir up first.
So Fenrir is, again, another kind of character that's fallen off a little bit, but he's been doing great in Smite too, by all means. We've been seeing a lot of awesome Fenrir play there. We want to make sure, though, that he's keeping up. in Smite 1. And he didn't really need a whole lot, right? Just a little bit of a bump to kind of get him moving in the right direction. And so what we're doing here is we're increasing the AoE damage of Brutalize to 75%. So if you're in a big group of people, usually it's really scary to cast Brutalize because, you know, you do get a bit of protections from this, but you are locked into this animation. You are moving by the enemy's accord to a certain extent. So to be able to say kind of, this is my zone, you know, if you want to be in the zone, fine, but you're going to take a little bit extra damage if you sit in AoE. Also really nice for clearing as well, which is
especially
gonna be
waves.
great.
Yeah, this is kind of a note out of Smite 2's book. I think in Smite 2 it's 100% of the damage, so we're not quite there, of course. Obviously, he's very strong in Smite 2, and Smite 2 has all different items as well, so balance is entirely different. But this, just 75% of the damage in the AoE, just a small bump from what it was before. So you can, you know, if you wanted to play him in solo lane, it didn't really matter, or now it won't matter as much what minion you're using a 3 on, you'll still clear pretty much everything around it for that 75% damage.
Yeah, sounds good. So next up, the jump scare goddess of Smite, Kalina.
Yes, Kalina. So she's a very interesting character because there are times where she is incredibly popular and does okay, but she is still kind of maintaining the popularity. It's gone down a little bit. We've seen it trending down, especially after the lifesteal changes at the beginning of the year. We're expecting to see her a little bit more after that, but she's fallen off quite a bit. So what we wanted to do was give her a little bit of extra damage for those characters that build into the damage stance, but also something more fun for the Kalina players is being able to hop in and out of those walls a little bit more. So it's going to feel pretty nice to be able to get in there 1 second sooner.
Yeah, we just kind of wanted, we saw the downtrend in players picking Kalina and playing Kalina, so we just want to give them a little bit more so they can, you know, if they're feeling on the weaker side now, they're just bumped up a little bit. She wasn't performing too poorly, but her play rate was trending down and her win rate was trending down as well. So just trying to reverse that a little bit. We'll keep an eye on it for sure, but these are, for now, very small buffs.
Yes, and specifically for Banshee's Wail here, this is not the final scream. This is the like pre-screams before the silence.
Got it. The pre-screams. So. All right, awesome. So that was Assassins. Now we're going into my personal favorite area for any of the gods. And that's Guardian territory, starting with Ardeo, the lady bear.
Yeah, Ardeo is a very interesting character because she is another character that got affected pretty badly by the attack speed reduction of back camps. Made it really, really difficult for her to get through the early game. And she's kind of a character that you would expect to do pretty decently there because she's a stance switcher, has access to all of these abilities. But really, it's kind of her utility and ability to keep up in damage that has kind of fallen off a bit.
Yeah, and the healing especially too. We're talking about how we did something for Terror in a previous patch. You know, these gods ever since, I think you said it was 10.3, might have been 10.4.
Yes,
I don't remember, but
lines.
early last year. So it's been over a full year. We're in 11.6 now for this patch, where these gods' healing has been pretty low, on the lower side, and there was reason for it, but as well I know that the healing before that patches was a little bit out of control, but with introducing these tier 2 items, we feel it's safe to bring this healing back up. So Energy Surge, which is your druid version of More Prey, which is your 1 ability, will now heal double the amount that it was healing before in the late game. So going from 40 to 100 to 40 to 200. Remember, you can hit up to 3 targets with this. So if you have this at max rank, you hit max amount of targets. So 3 targets, that's 600 heal for yourself and all of your allies. That's a lot of healing.
It's really hard to do that, though. That is, I'll be very impressed.
Yeah, so I would like to see people be able to do it, but in general, you know, you're hitting 1, maybe 2 targets if you're hitting some frontliners. But generally it's just 1. It's a small little cone. So you're getting this 200 heal instead of 300. Instead of 100. And more often as well, the cooldown going down from 12 seconds. We're doing that for the same for More Prey, which is just the bearer version as well. So both will have the same cooldown, but the healing is increased on Energy Surge.
And then over to our next slide of Ardeo changes, we're going to life tap. This is the 3, but the druid version. So this is also the heal per hit of life tap is going up as well. She's going to get a little bit more sustained from this. I mean, 6 per tick in the early game is kind of like not even one archer swing. So it's going to feel a little bit more significant there. And really not that much more towards the top end, but this is per tick as well. So it's going to add up over those ticks. But again, you got to be hitting things for this to actually give you healing, which is always the hard part. She's also getting just a little bit of increased damage scaling per hit, which is going to help. And then the mana cost is going to be kind of sitting in a more reasonable spot for her, especially because she is a character that swaps between stances a lot, spams a lot, is going to be needing that a little bit of a decrease on the mana cost there.
Yep. And then for heavy charge, which is same ability, just different form for the bear form, increasing the damage the same way we did for life tap as well, and the mana cost too. So just you should be able to actually dash and use your 3 whenever you want. Maybe you buy Restored Artifact, that tier 2, you spam those abilities, get that 1% mana back every time, and you continue to just keep fighting as the Guardian Druid in the Soul Lane.
Yeah, lots of options now, especially for a character like this that has a lot of abilities.
Yeah. Ardio's always been fun anyway, and also always fun like that. Kind of like a jump scare, kind of like Clino, where you're like, oh, they're clearing their blue camp. Let's turn into a bear and charge them from behind. So you're innocently clearing blue, and all you hear is an actual bear running at you from like right behind. It's a great time, honestly. It's great mental strats. So moving forward, we have Sylvanas, the tree.
Yeah, so this is just a small adjustment to Sylvanas. We've got more later that we'll get into. But before then, we got to talk about his base stats. So as a character that's relatively immobile, he has got some solid self-peel. He's got some healing, but he just is a tree. He can't really go very fast, very, very quickly. So he needs to be a little bit of extra, tanky to be able to deal with a lot of the people that run at him and want to chop him down. Listen, don't touch Grover like that, all right? He wants to grow strong and flourish, not get chopped down and turn into firewood. That's messed up.
Grover, not chopped down.
We just felt that he was kind of weak. Obviously, as immobile as he is, he was pretty easy to pick off, even with his self-peel. So bringing the health scaling up, just 5 per level, that's not a much in the end, but it will help based on top of the base physical protections will help too, and then the physical protections per level, another 0.5 per level. So just in general, being tanky, especially the physical damage in the later game.
Yeah, all sounds good. And now we are finally shifting from Guardians to the last of our areas, those solo lane lovers, the warriors, Amaterasus to start.
Yeah, you would have thought. Over the past, meta or so, that with Equinox being really good, Amaterasu is a basic attack character.
Yeah.
But she was not there. She was not present. And even though her popularity did go up, it quickly fell off when Equinox got nerfed. And then it went back to being basically very low. Very low. So we wanted to make sure that she was able to keep up with the rest of the characters, keep up with this new itemization especially. So what we are doing here for Ama is increasing her basic attack power per level from 2 to 2.2. So she's going to scale a significant amount closer to the late game. Divine Presence is getting an increased heal per tick by 5 at the early game, and then going up to 55 at the late game. Glorious Charge, which is her 3, is going to get a mana decrease to 60.
Very expensive before.
Middle ranks. Yeah, for a dash being at 90 is very, very expensive. And then finally, the Piece de Resistance. Dazzling Offensive, the ultimate, going down to a 70-second cooldown at max rank, which is very, very low. That's like Vulcan, that's like raw levels. Like, I don't know if there's a warrior that has an ultimate this low cooldown.
I think it's fun. Just get in there, use your ultimate as much as possible, force those enemy cooldowns. You can kind of disengage, heal yourself up, and when they don't have their cooldowns up, yours is only on 70-second cooldown. Their beads are much longer than that, or their defensive ultimate is much longer than that, so you can go back in and use your ultimate again before there's a backup.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. I'm sure AJ's excited for sure.
All right, so last but not least, in this particular list, we have Horus getting a little tweakage as well.
Yeah, so again, Horus is another character that is more of your supportive warrior, can be played over in the solo lane. A little bit more difficult too, but definitely can. The first thing we're doing is increasing the buff duration of Protector Surge. So this is the protections that you get when Horus hops to you, not the healing. Nothing to do with the healing for him. But it's going to be nice to be able to hang on to those protections for a little bit longer. But the fun buff here is To the Skies, going down in cooldown from 100 seconds to 90 seconds.
Get up there and fly the team around more often.
A lot of times, especially for the newer Horus players or non-Conquest Horus players, this ultimate is really hard to find a good time to use. So just giving more opportunities to go and up-down, or, maybe pull your whole team into the enemy base and arena. That could be kind of fun. Things like that. Definitely don't do that, but...
Just once. Just once. You get one.
Maybe if you're winning by 100 tickets, something like that.
It's a power play. So if you're five
they're your
stacking,
friends,
if you're 5 stacking and you want to burn 100 tickets, go for it. Live your life. So all right, well, cool. So that does it for the regular balance. We have a few more things to cover, though. Some interesting things in what we can call the quality of life section.
Yeah.
So some neat changes here, and I guess we'll dive right in with Bakasura.
Yeah, Bakasura is getting kind of a smaller quality of life change here, but it's going to feel nice regardless. Regurgitate is his ultimate. It's going to be seeing an increased projectile speed by about 15%. It's kind of hard to say because we don't, typically share projectile speeds externally, but just know it's going to go out a little bit faster wherever you shoot it to. It'll land there a lot more succinctly, so you're not being able to, shoot it out and then miss the cripple, essentially. It's going to feel
right.
a lot more easier to confirm in that regard. So yeah, that's essentially it for Bakasura. Just a small change, make that a little bit more consistent, especially when you're throwing it further away, because again, it is a projectile. It has to travel the distance, so the further you throw it, the longer it's going to take to get there.
Yeah, it helps make a more reliable impact on the target you were attempting to regurgitate on. So moving forward, Yu Huang.
Yes, this is a very, very cool change. I'm very excited about this one. So Yu Huang, ever since it was his release, he has been known to have one of the most difficult ultimates to hit in the game, if not maybe number one. It's very hard to say, right? But when it comes to the difficulty of it. And so we're trying to just make the general experience of firing this ability feel a lot better.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard to really break down the numbers here just because there's so many steps into this ultimate when it comes to spawning the dragons, firing them, the dragons fire, the explosion happens. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm not going to break down the specific numbers for you here. The only thing that I will say is the dragon projectile. So when you actually shoot them, they go faster, but there have been other changes to his pre-fires, his post-fires, going in and out of the ability especially.
Right.
It feels way nicer now. So hopefully that is going to feel a lot better. There's going to be a lot less delay for Yu Huang players that are very used to that experience. It's going to be feeling so much smoother now.
Yeah, we saw a lot of good feedback from those Charybdis players of last patch when they got the same kind of change, this reworked ultimate to make it feel a lot more, smooth, really is the best way to describe it. So we wanted to do the same thing for Yu Huang because he also had this element of clunkiness, and this will hopefully just make it a lot more intuitive to use, a lot more smooth to use, and make it easier to hit those targets.
Yeah, what a crazy thing to say just conceptually, like, as somebody who's never watched or commanded two dragons to fly at each other in an explosive path, being able to sit down and say, it just doesn't feel quite right. Like, it's weird how I don't know where you get that opinion from, but you definitely know it. And when you're able to clean it up and you're like, now that's what two dragons flying headlong on Collision Course should feel like.
That's right.
Like, crazy that it's some invisible target that you've been able to just, find. Like,
yeah, so
props
just
to y'all.
a lot of finagling, for sure. But
Props to
when we
y'all.
got there, it definitely feels a lot better. As someone who plays a lot of Yu Huang, we had some other testers come in and try it as well. And the change is small, right? It's not going to be this extreme overnight. This becomes the easiest
not a brand new
ability
ultimate.
to hit in the game. But it still will be challenging. But it will feel a lot more responsive, and that's what matters to us.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. So next up, y'all might have seen a teaser for this one floating in the Twitter sphere, but we have Kali getting a bit of
Yes.
That's
fun.
exciting, yeah.
This is an exciting set of changes. So, Kali.
That's a lot.
Kali. Where to begin?
Kali.
We can begin. Let's talk about Achilles' passive just real quick because that'll matter in this
All
for
right,
this
and
comparison.
we're going to dive in game for Kali.
Yeah, we can
as
show it
well.
off in game.
Sure, yeah.
Help us explain.
J-Mac can
I'll
pull it
preface
up.
that we can try, but right now they're currently getting the servers up for PTS.
That's
right.
So while in my reset aren't able to, unless there's anything on the dev we need to avoid, maybe I can jump onto the dev jump and jungle practice.
Maybe, we'll see. I can talk through it for now anyway,
Okay,
so
talk through it.
no big deal. But yes, this is the middle of a workday. We are doing active
That's
work on the
true.
game.
There are literally people
that's how it
working on the
works.
game
Yep.
right now.
Sometimes that happens.
But yeah, so first of all, just think of Achilles' passive where you can go into base, click to change your armor whenever you want
Very
between
easy.
your offensive or your defensive choice. Now, Kali will be able to go into her fountain, and at any point she can left click, just like Achilles can left click, and she'll be able to choose her target at any point. So we're trying to solve this issue of how Kali would be maybe stuck with, the support is my target. I'm never going to kill the support, at least not for the next 10 minutes, and therefore my passive is basically useless. We wanted to avoid that. So now you can go into the base and choose your target at any point. Obviously, that means you're going to have your target on the god you probably most want it to be on almost all the time, especially with the second change we're going to make here. So we did have to bring the passive down.
Yep.
There's a lot of text here. I'm not going to read it all out for you, but we have nerfed the passive accordingly based on how easy it should be to target the correct target.
Yes.
And you can take away the nimble strike change if you want, because
Yeah.
again, that'll be to do with your targeting.
I mean, another thing to kind of touch on here with Marked for Death is that you're still getting this very extreme heal, right? The heal is kind of the big focus here. You get a slight advantage when it comes to killing the target, and you get a slight bonus when you do kill the target. But really, the weight that we want is the more visceral feeling of, I got this huge heal.
Yes,
versus
yeah.
I have this inherent advantage versus this target that I have all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Nimble Strike, because this is getting two kind of levels of change, where the first effect is a brand new effect, where when Kali leaps on an enemy god, the lowest current health god that you've hit is marked automatically.
Yes. So you can choose your target by jumping on top of them, just saying, really, like, I choose you, I'm going all in, I'm taking you as my target, you know, because you want to fully commit to that target, because if you kill them, you obviously get the passive proc and everything like that. And Lerma, you actually posted a video on Twitter,
Yes,
right?
we did spoil this one on Monday. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we can check that out.
Take a
then.
look.
Yeah.
That'll just display on how this ability works. So you can see, there we go, switch to Yu Huang as a target, you still get the heal, and now they're marked as an enemy, and then we can go into base. Depending on the skin you'll have different FX.
Yeah.
Do a little left click there, and then boom, choose your target that now is Atlas.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, you can see X-Bow was a target, now it's Yu Huang,
Huang.
and we can change it to Atlas. Full control over your passive now.
Yeah.
Yep. And believe me when I tell you this feels very, very nice to be able to have this level of control as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand the concern as well that people have brought up where like, oh, you know, what if I get the target that I don't really want? Like I'm hitting multiple gods at the same time. Typically, when this has happened in our playtest, we've actually been very happy with how it's felt because the target that has the lowest health is not usually going to be the guardians or the tanky people, even if they're really grouped up next to each other. They just have more health than squishy people. So if you're jumping on the pack liners, you're jumping on the jungler, and you happen to also hit a tank, you're still probably going to mark the person you wanted to hit anyway.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and generally the person that is the lowest health, even in situations where it's, you know, two hunters or whatever it may be, two similar characters, the one that's lower health is the one you're going to be going for anyway, right?
Exactly.
Because they're sooner to dying, sooner to getting your Kali proc passive, and so it's just very intuitive that way. So even if you accidentally hit two targets, generally you want the one that's low health. That's the one your passive's going to go to. That's the one you chase after. Get some, you know, extra bonuses for killing them, and then, you know, just perfectly, you know, in line with what Kali wants to do in terms of, you know, just choosing a target, gunning that one singular target down.
Yeah.
Then once they're dead, you switch to a different target and keep going.
And what almost helpful in a way too, because, you know, like you said, if you're looking at two health bars side by side, the Guardian health bar could look like it's a quarter full and the Hunter half full, but the Guardian still has more life. Guardians are just built thick.
Yeah, this is not percentage health. This is actual what is the number.
What is the number? So if you jump on that, you know, especially if you're a learning player too, you could be like, oh, like I jumped in, that guy's health bar looks lower, but it lit up that guy. I'm going to fight that guy because, like, I know that's the lowest health person in the area. So it's almost helpful for somebody trying to learn Kali because you can dive in and get the idea of, oh,
I should be hitting this guy.
Passive says that's the one to go for. Let's go.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
They're really cool. So yeah, lots of big changes for Kali.
One more effect, though, that we got to talk about is that a Nimble Strike has a heal on it. But one very interesting quirk about Kali, I guess you could call it interesting, maybe we'll call it a little unhelpful in some circumstances, is that to heal at all with Kali's Nimble Strike, they needed to be missing health. So if you wanted to, let's say, leap over a wall and start a camp with your jump, you're not healing with that. And if you wanted to get a heal from a camp, you'd have to end with your jump, which just doesn't feel very good, I would say. As a character, it just doesn't make much sense. That many other characters don't do it that way. They will start with it, or they will, you know, start going to another camp with that ability. And with Kali, you just were missing out on this really big part of the ability that you just were not getting. So what we've done is we've lowered the percent missing health that you get. You still have that missing health component, so it still has that unique factor of, yes, you can still do this. If, you know, it's in your muscle memory, you'll still get some extra healing from that. But now it has a flat heal as well, so you'll be able to not feel so bad about starting with your jump.
That's right, and you can jump on multiple targets as well. You group these jungle buffs up, group a full wave
you
up.
only ever get one.
And then you just get, you know, it would be 100 heal plus 10% of the whatever the highest target's health is. You could even jump on a fire giant. If you get the killing blow on a fire giant with your Kali jump,
that's a big heal.
That's a big heal, right? So even with the 10%, you still get that big heal. But if they're low health, if they're full health and they've only taken the damage from your jump, you get a small, you know, 10% of what your jump did plus the flat value depending on the rank of your ability.
Exactly.
Well, good stuff all around. Lots of cool Kali changes, lots to feel out. So make sure y'all let us know how you feel about that, because lots of cool stuff. And J-Mac, were you able to get the game sorted?
Yeah, I jumped into the dev jungle practice at the moment, so we can kind of show off the
Please do.
the double target jump.
Yeah,
cool
let's take a
looking
look.
Yeah, well, you're full health now, so you won't be able to heal, but you will be able to. You can see the health values on both of them.
Oh, and there's our targeter too.
There's a lot of Odin.
There's a lot of Odins in that map, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see.
Pick a random Odin.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. And we're switching around, which is nice. And then if we jump, a ba-boom.
Well, it killed Raw and then swapped to Chuck.
But there you go. So even if you kill a target, you'll
it'll-
choose the
it'll
target
mark
that's
the
still
next
alive.
lowest target. That's actually a cool, like, additional thing to have shown off there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can see, actually, because you're on the ceramic skin here, if you go towards the base, without clicking, you can see you get the themed click or the themed
Yes.
FX around your character.
And the other important thing to note is that you can right-click this targeter just like you can right-click Achilles, and then you can go back to basic attacking in base if you want to.
If someone's diving your Phoenix and you need to basic attack them, you just right-click away that targeter and you can attack whoever's in your fountain for some reason.
Or if you're really talented, you quickly switch your target to whoever's in the
Oh,
and then,
quick
you know,
swap. Yeah.
Take them out while they're there, you know. Easy
Beautiful.
picking. So, and yeah, there it is, marking raw.
Yep, perfect.
Really cool.
Yep. And of course, you get the proper indication from the enemy side as well that they've been marked. So everyone should be fully aware of who is the target in that situation.
Who is in imminent mortal danger.
Yes.
So, or immortal danger if you're a god, I guess. But
True.
regardless. So cool. Yeah, a lot of changes there. Like a lot of really depthy, but all very, like, I guess, quality of life is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
As the
Certainly-
section would entail.
Certainly a buff, but just a buff in the way that the character just feels better. It's intuitive. It makes sense with the way that character plays. And because it is a buff, yeah, we nerf the passive accordingly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But like you said, it gives you better control of a mechanic that is native to that character anyway. So
Yep,
overall,
exactly.
it just feels good. Well,
Yeah.
good stuff. So continuing forward, we have one of the goodest boys of the battleground.
Oh, boy.
Cerberus.
This is a fun one.
This is a fun one. We
Take
can
it away.
also probably
Leading
go
with
in
the
game for
whole
this one
boy.
too
Yeah.
if you want, J-Mac. But yeah, let's start. So Soul Expulsion. Cerberus overall can sometimes feel a little bit clunky. You know, he's a good boy, but he does things a little bit slow. He's a big,
He a thick
hulking,
boy, yeah.
massive
Donkey
dog.
boy.
So yeah, we wanted to make sure that Soul Expulsion was feeling nice because this jump is a little bit long to get out of when it comes to the post fire, and even getting up in the air. Sometimes you can feel like you're getting pulled out of it. So we wanted to kind of improve that experience. And again, not going into specifics here because the numbers are just really, really small.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, there's not a lot of context on this that will make a lot of sense to you guys at home. So just trust me on this one. Go try it out in jungle practice. You will feel the difference. And then finally, Stygian Torment. This is a huge change.
It's crazy.
Cerberus is no longer crippled or slowed while using this ability,
Oh,
which means, J-Mac, if we are prepared in game, show us what it means.
Let's try again.
Now means-
Yeah.
You're not slowed at
And
all.
then,
ass.
no slow.
And then
And then finally, one more thing you can do is
Ult them
Hurry up.
first and then jump
And then
while
jump.
you're holding them.
Oh,
So you can actually ult them really far away. So
Oh.
if you
yeah.
ult them on the edge of your ult and then face the other way and just jump as far away as possible.
yeah.
You'll take them with you that whole distance.
Man.
You are bringing them.
There you go.
That's
Yep.
so cool.
So I think we measured it because Cerberus is kind of like a solo lane god.
Yeah.
You can ult someone from basically the totem to your tower line.
They won't follow you over the wall.
So yeah, they won't go over the wall with you. They'll just impact the wall. We should add damage and a stun or something when they
That'd be
splatter
really
against
funny.
the wall.
Now we're good.
Oh my god, so violent.
But yeah, so you can take them quite a distance. So if you're up against a Cerberus in the solo lane, you're safe around the totem area. But if you
Yeah.
go a little bit too far, that you're at risk of getting hit by that ultimate, and then the jump all the way into their tower line like that. So pretty cool.
Dude, the arena implications of this, like,
You are
Yeah.
pulling very far now.
yeah,
but it
I
is-
am going to jump people into Fountain on Arena as often as possible. Like,
What's even cooler about this too is we recently did a change to Cerberus to give him cooldown reduction on soul expulsion when you kill the souls of gods. So you can jump on them as they're getting pulled, drop all their souls, your teammates kill the souls while they're also killing the guys.
Yeah.
And then your jumps back up again, baby. You go one more time. It's awesome.
That is awesome. Oh man, what a fun change. I love that. Guardian changes just light me up. So good stuff. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
just
awesome.
good stuff. All right, so I'm always happy to see this. Atlas up next.
Oh yeah.
What's my boy Atlas get?
This is a fun one.
Some rings, I guess.
So in the last patch, we had a couple gods like Jormungandr, Fafnir, Bake Kujira that
Yeah.
were able to get item procs on their basic attacks. Atlas was not included in that list because he required a little bit of extra help just due to the way that his basics are set up for his Unburden. And now Atlas's Astrolabe basic attacks, when he has it deployed, can
Yeah.
proc basic attack item effects.
Yes.
Yeah, we did it, guys. Atlas is here.
I'm looking over at JMac's screen now, and he might have a little sneak for
A
us.
demonstration.
Yeah.
Really?
A bunch of items.
Yeah. Look at those procs.
You can throw that on a wave on some gods. You get a bunch of auto attack procs right there. That's
You know, maybe not the best Atlas build, but it sure is fun.
it is
Yeah,
fun.
It attacks fast. That's what matters.
That's what matters.
Indeed. And it costs mana, so keep that in mind too.
Nah, that's not
Don't worry
important.
about that.
So yeah,
Oh, that's so fun.
there you go.
All right, well, I'm happy. We could end the show there, but we're not because we still have some stuff to talk about. So, All right, so moving now, this is less of a individual god thing and more of a happening across the board type thing. So ability item effects, so some additional proccage it looks like.
Yes, so we did something, again, very similar to this in the last patch as well. This is more focused on actual abilities that did not proc item effects
The
before.
final part.
Okay.
Yes, it does not, it's not our intention to let every single ability in the game proc items. Some, whether it's due to increased technical limitations or just due to game balance concerns, are not on this list. There are, it's a possibility in the future we could do some additional investigation when it comes to the technology or just other, balance measures that we could put in to adjust certain characters that are not in this list that don't proc. But at this point, we're feeling pretty good about this list. It's not to say that we will never, ever change them again. But this is kind of the last kind of real big push that we feel like we need to make at this point in time with this. But to look at this list in more detail, we've got Cthulhu's Sever, which is his kind of initial slash attack when he goes into his ultimate. And then Chernobog's Heart of Cold. This is his passive, the explosion there. Pele's Magma Rush. Maman Brigitte's Party Trick, which is the Fire Breath, and then Shibalanke's Branching Bolus are all able to proc for a variety of different damage and healing effectiveness percents.
Yeah, we came up with some rules here as well. As you can see, Cthulhu and Chernobog both at 100%, just because it kind of makes sense with those abilities and how often they can use, whereas you get down to Pele, Maman, and Shibalanke, they can kind of just use those abilities all the time. Shibalanke is just his basic attack bowlers. Maman can cancel and start her Party Trick whenever she wants. Similar with Pele, so those had to be much lower values. But the important thing is, the damage and healing is important too. But Magma Rush and Party Trick will now proc Brawlers or Divine Ruin, and Shibalanke will be able to proc Brawlers, I suppose, with his branching bowlers. So you're able to get those, Crusher, Heartseeker. You get those effects, even if it doesn't, if they're just damage effects, yes, they're reduced down to 25%. But if they're anti-heal or Gem of Isolation on Maman Brigitte, you can proc that whenever you want. That's still the full amount. It's just the damage and the healing that's being reduced.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Well, that's cool. A lot of new effects that can, that you can work those item procs into for a lot of diverse gameplay. That's really, I feel like the theme of this mid-season is items and things are being shaken up so much that the way you can build, the abilities you can rely on to utilize the build, it's going to be a lot of cool gameplay or game changers. So
yeah, very excited to see what new build paths open up with these abilities.
Yeah. It's going to be, y'all always figure out what, you're here's the set of rules that they've recently laid out. Let us twist them to the craziest possible lengths of the earth. So always excited to see that. So last but not least, we have one more thing to talk about, and it's abilities that can be fired while targeting close or inside of walls. So kind of run me through what that is.
Yeah, so this is our final bit here, but essentially there are some abilities in Smite that cannot be fired all the way into walls, over halfway into the wall, because it will cause XYZ issue. It could be a number of things where collisions don't work right. You can't jump into a wall. You can't place things like deployables or walls into walls up to a certain extent because of how they push people in. Some of these are more okay for a variety of other reasons, but I'm just going to go through the list, and all of these you'll be able to fire into walls if you want, but you really shouldn't. The ideal feeling is that if you are next to a wall trying to hit someone with these abilities, you are no longer going to have that big of an issue when it comes to actually putting them close to the wall.
Right,
You
can overlap this ability or any of these abilities into a wall and still hit them with the edge, right? If you would previously, let's say, Skadi, Permafrost, if you had put your target at over 50% into a wall, you couldn't throw it at all. Right? So if there was an enemy right by a wall and you were just trying to throw it on them quickly, you couldn't throw it on them if you had that targeter in the slightly wrong spot. Now you can target it anywhere in a wall. It's fine. Obviously, you don't want to put it on outside of the map. That's not going to hit anybody. But it'll be much easier to hit gods that are standing right next to structures or walls. So go ahead.
Yeah, let's just run through this list really quick. Of course, we've got Skadi, Permafrost, this is her 3. Poseidon, Release the Kraken, of course, that's his ultimate. Bakasura's Regurgitate, which is his ultimate. Sylvanas' basic attacks, which is a big one. You can now fire these over walls as well and right next to walls, and this is really helpful for Phoenix Sieges, Tower Sieges, things like that. Feels really, really nice. On top of that, we've got Ishtar's Strike Shot, which functions very similarly. That's the lob one. Jingwei's Persistent Gust, Amu's and Cobb's Honey, Freya's Banish, and Ymir's Ice Wall are all of the abilities that are getting this pass as well. And so they feel really nice now to be able to not have to worry so much about opponents being really close to walls and just getting that annoying little click sound that you just can't fire ability. Well, now you can.
AMC's Honey has me excited for that. I'm gonna be across the wall, thought you could take that camp, huh? Beans. So I'm excited for that.
Yep, it's gonna feel real nice. But that's about it in terms
That's it
of
for us.
Did it?
balance.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. So what a long show it's been. You know, this is mid-season. Y'all did a lot of work, a lot of cooking. So first and foremost, thank the both of you for all the hard work
Thank
you've
you,
done
guys.
here and coming on and talking through all of that, because that's a lot. Like y'all's ability to understand and remember like why you made changes like that, like always astounding. So thank y'all for the help. J-Mac, as always, thanks for
Yeah,
driving
thanks,
us up
J-Mac.
back there.
Thank you.
And then thanks to y'all for coming and hanging out with us. Like it's been a crazy 6 months so far, you know, 6 updates since the beginning of the year. So
Dang.
obviously there's a lot more in store for the rest of the year between Smite 1 and Smite 2, but I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. First of all, y'all already know PTS on the way if it's not already here. So keep your eyes out for that. Hop in, start testing some of these things, start devising new builds when the patch goes live next Tuesday. And as always, let us know how you feel or if you bump into anything, whether you're on Reddit, in the Discord, on Twitter, wherever. Always let us know how you feel about things, because that is the easiest way for us to make the game the best we can for y'all. So make sure to check out PTS soon. I said it at the beginning of the show, I'm going to say it again. Thanks, y'all. Thank you so much for last weekend. Like, as we continue to iterate through Smite 2, it's an alpha. And that's not an excuse, but that is what it is, you know? It's a game that is still changing constantly, and it's changing in directions that y'all are pushing it in. Y'all are really helping us drive towards whatever the final product's going to be. So please continue joining us for these alpha play tests as they open up, as we move towards the future, and continue providing all this feedback, whether it sounds positive or negative or whatever. Like, we really do appreciate all of it that you give us. So thanks again. And then last but not least, you know, I think y'all are doing a dev inside on
Yeah.
Friday, right?
Friday
So,
indeed.
yeah, y'all make sure to hang out on Friday for the chillin', and you know, bring your questions. You know, they're always happy to talk about why some of these changes came about, or how they think it's going to affect the game, or maybe why something that you thought should have changed didn't. So they got all the answers. They're cool. I'm just going to brag about them some more. Oh, but that's it. That's it. We did it. This is the mid-season update. So I'm going to stop talking to y'all now, because I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. So one more time, thank y'all all for being out and hanging out.
Thank you, everybody.
And
Thank you.
thanks everybody for watching. Catch you later.
Made in Georgia.